for the clear. Is it bad? Sometimes I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. Listen, I can see the light of day, but I can also see the bones decay. I don't know what else there is to say. I'm doing my best not to run away. Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave in and swallow me whole. Wondering how the world keeps on spinning, kinda scared of living when it unfolds. Hard to see the light when everything is dying, waiting for the clear. Thankful I'm alive, but terrified of dying. But hey, I'm still here. Is it bad? Sometimes I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. Listen, I can see the light of day, but I can also see the bones decay. I don't know what else there is to say. I'm doing my best not to run away.
You're the night sky trying to make me see your stars, but the dark gets so lonely. Now I see violet, I can feel silence. And the dark's all that I see when your stars have burnt out and your heart makes no sound. I'll find violet in your eyes. You'll always be my night sky. You'll always be my night sky.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Show me what you got. Oh,
Is that everything you got?
last turn.
Catch me if you can.
That was great.
That was a good game.
Unlock true experience with GT Omega.
Unleash the racer in you and feel the thrill of racing all out on the open road.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome. Tonight is the night. 7 rounds have led up to this point, 6 different countries, and yet it all comes back to Blighty here in the UK for Silverstone for the final round of the GT Omega Challenger Cup. A very warm welcome to you. Thank you for coming and seeing what's important tonight. Never mind Scotland versus Ukraine. Never mind the verdict in some trial happening in the US of A. It's all about us here on Twitch tonight. It's David Christie alongside Ewan O'Leary. And Ewan, welcome back. Talk about coming in right at the last minute. This is right down to the wire.
It absolutely is, yeah, absolutely delighted to be back. I have been watching the last few weeks, keeping an eye on things, seeing how things go. It's been fantastic racing from start to finish in this season, and I personally, going into the penultimate round at Moza, was a little bit worried we'd miss out on a real great championship fight here in this season. We saw BS Competition have a really, really good start, and they looked like they were running away with it, but a slightly off-colour performance last week sets us up wonderfully for this final race. Yas Heat obviously still have a lot to do, but it's all to play for.
It certainly is. As we come down to the final round, it really is between our 2 top title protagonists. We have got stats for days, ladies and gentlemen, and a huge thank you to the production team at GT Omega for preparing some beautiful, beautiful graphics here. Our title fight now comes down to just 36 points. You can see there BS+COMPETITION, who have had a stranglehold on the competition so far. They are in first place, and then you've got Yas Heat, GTWR in second place in 938 points. Now, points-wise, everybody else, they are done. They're dusted. It's been an excellent season for Volante Racing, getting that third position. Also to the Yas Heat community car, along with the GTWR community. But they, in the terms of the championships, Ewan, are also runs tonight. However, every single one of them could play a pivotal role for tonight's championship.
Yeah, they certainly could. We've seen some real recurring names kind of up front in this championship, and they really could get in the way of either of these two cars, the championship contending ones, coming up here in this season. As we can see here, 7 races, 6 podiums each. Yas Heat, the last time they didn't finish on the podium was Kyle Army all the way back at the second round. And the real difference here is BS Competition. The last time they finished off of the podium was last round. We talk about momentum so much going into championship finales like this. Who do you really trust to do a job? Those who have momentum behind them are often the ones that you select to take the title. Well, despite the fact they've got a points lead, the momentum is not with that car on the right leading this championship at the moment.
That's right, and one of the more interesting graphics that we saw GTA Mega posting on their socials earlier today is this one here. This is your slide rule, ladies and gentlemen. Head over to twitter.com/GT Mega Racing and you will find your very own version of this. But here it is on screen for you just now. For Yas Heat to win the championship, bear in mind they're in second place, this is how it stands. They basically have to get a podium position tonight to make sure they're in a strong position. BS+ Competition have had an incredible record, so have Yas Heat, but the problem is they've only had one time out of the podium in the past 7 races here. So realistically, tonight has to be a complete disaster going for BS+ Competition, and with the likes of some incredibly strong names, the likes of Gregor Schill and Arthur Kammerer behind the wheel tonight, it's going to look difficult.
It certainly is. I mean, you say it has to be a disaster for BS Competition. Well, they placed 6th at the race in Misano. I certainly wouldn't call that a complete disaster for them. I know the BMW maybe wasn't as strong around there as it has been around some of the other circuits, but they were still beaten by West Competition Racing with that late pass in that race. And if Yas Heat win this race, and obviously BS Competition finish 6th again, then they're going to be champions of Yas Heat. They're going to overhaul that margin. So I don't think it has to be a disaster at all for BS Competition. They really do have to be on their toes. But as that graphic indicates there, a 4th place will do it for them. And since they've managed it 6 out of 7 times so far, they are certainly the odds-on favourites.
So tonight we head to Silverstone in Assetto Corsa Competizione, the stalwart of British tracks for GT racing. I made my thoughts on it very well known last week with Yusuf. I'm not the greatest fan of Silverstone. Controversial hot take right there, but Donington or Brands Hatch I think are much more interesting circuits. But given that this is a championship decider and the fact that we could have 3-4 wide down the Hangar Straight, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to have a championship finale. Obviously, used a lot on ACC Silverstone, and I do agree on occasion, especially in real life, the GT3s don't often race amazingly around here. Other categories do race really quite well around here, and so I wouldn't write that off as a Silverstone thing particularly. But different tracks suit different cars in different ways. As you say, though, a championship finale at any circuit is interesting. We've had one at Abu Dhabi and F1 for years now, and we have had some interesting ones, and that's a terrible circuit. So, we can have great championship finales at circuits that don't particularly suit the cars that we're tackling them with. So I'm sure that is going to be one of those here tonight. Obviously, the pressure all on BS Competition, as we've already said. How are these cars going to react to this circuit? What is the McLaren's feel for this circuit? What is the BMW's? How are they going to react to it? And how are they going to get on tonight? We're going to get some answers soon.
We certainly are. And a huge thank you to everyone who has joined us over on Twitch tonight. Both myself and Ewan are logged in. We're watching the chat, so happy to answer any questions that you have got ahead of tonight's race. As you can see, Ewan frantically opening up the tab with Twitch.
I've already got it.
Oh, you got it?
I've already got it. Yeah.
I was just masking my own things there because that's exactly what I was doing as we head into the finale of free practice here. But let's talk then about Silverstone, because as you said, you know, it seems to be more of a track, Ewan, that focuses on the mistakes of others than actual, you know, straight up overtaking opportunities. However, what I will say is that that has been kind of changed on its head in the past couple of months with a few of the other events that I've done here at Silverstone. Again, that balance of performance update and the 1.8 patch seems to have changed an awful lot. But do you think there's too much that we can read into this? The fact that BS Plus competition up the top there, given we are about a minute away from going into qualifying.
I mean, there certainly is something to be said for the free practice times at the moment, but we really don't know what people are holding back at this stage. You know, we've seen some of the guys towards the bottom. You'd maybe expect them to be further up, especially maybe the 199 and the 724. You expect them to be in amongst the top 10 at the very least. For example, and Felix Deepers as well. So there's a few who haven't set lap times just yet, and we haven't got too many BMWs actually out there at the moment. We've got a good feel for where the McLaren might be, around where Luke Whitehead and Jonathan Riley are at the moment in second and third. That's kind of given us a good feel for where they may be. But yeah, for the moment, it's difficult to read too much into free practice here. Gregor Schill obviously getting off to a very good start, but who knows what everyone else is holding back. I mean, Schill obviously very good at this circuit. He won a SRO esports race here. What was it, last weekend? Last Saturday. So yeah, he certainly knows what he's doing around here. And will be very well practiced as well, given that race has only just gone past.
Interesting little attempt to throw us under the bus here on GTWR Mega TV on the Twitch from our very own Angus Fender, part of BS Plus competition. Question 1, who do you want to win the title? No pressure. Ooh, that's a difficult one. I don't really have a vested interest either way, and I know that sounds really... I hate sitting on the fence, but the problem is that it's got to this stage. All I want, the only thing I want tonight is for it to be a really worthy winner, if that makes sense. I want whoever wins tonight to win it because of an amazing performance and not because of either bad luck or a really, you know, an incident or something like that. I want it to be a really strong finish for whoever wins this this championship. What I will say is I'm leaning more towards BS Plus competition for how they have approached this championship. Certainly from watching their socials, from you know, speaking to them beforehand as well. I do really admire the amount of professionalism that goes into that team. They put a lot of work in, and I just, you know, we do this day in, day out, week in, week out, and honestly, it's such a breath of fresh air when you see a team almost treat it like it's an official, you know, works thing, if that makes sense. And I know to a certain extent that it is, but it's just nice to see that that's where we are, where we can compare these teams to how real life teams behave themselves and compose themselves as we go to qualifying.
Yeah, you're just saying that because Angus Fender asked the question. It's because you don't know upset him. But no, of course, I'm joking. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say really who you'd like to win, because as you say, yeah, I don't really want to sit on the fence, but it doesn't matter too much to us. I don't know any of these guys personally. In terms of speaking to them, so you know, it doesn't matter too much. I just want to see a good fight of it. As I said in the opening moments of this broadcast, a little bit fearful on the way into Misano that we weren't actually going to get a very good fight for the championship, because BS Competition had finished first and second throughout the entirety of the first 6 races. They were pretty much unstoppable. And I was really fearful that we weren't going to get the championship fight that this season really deserved. But now that we are getting that, I do hope that it's not kind of like you, I suppose. I do hope that it's not done in the first corner with an incident. I do hope that we get drama throughout the day, overtakes, important moves being made throughout the race. So yeah, I hope it's a good fight. Whoever wins, I hope it is going to be a good fight, and I'm sure it is here in this final 1 hour and a half race of the season.
Yeah, it's been a very, very strong season for a lot of these contenders. My God, you think we're actually racing here tonight with the way that some of these cars are driving just now. But the fact that our top 2 realistically, they've been on a different channel, haven't they? 2 pole positions for Yas Heat and 2 race wins, 3 pole positions for BS Plus and 4 race wins. So again, that qualifying pace really showing why BS Plus is in the top position right now.
Absolutely, you can't say that they don't deserve it. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, the first 6 rounds they didn't finish below second place, which really is remarkable. So they do certainly deserve it. But can they convert in the final race? Obviously, it's not always the deserving team maybe that always wins a championship. If they falter here at the final hurdle, then it could well go to the 75 team. Not saying that they will be unworthy winners, but certainly they're not in the driving seat right now, and they are the ones who have to go and try and do something here in this race to try and take it off them. But it's so interesting to see how these 2 teams kind of almost gravitationally attract towards each other. You can see them out on the circuit at the moment. The first 2 cars out there at the right now, the 89 is first in line, the 75 is second. There is literally no separating them in almost any dimension, including what order they go out in this qualifying session.
Good evening to God Kitty on the Twitch chat as well, saying that McLaren versus BMW is going to be awesome. Yes, it is. It has been all season, and it's going to be even more so. The thing, obviously, the other thing we've got to talk about is the track itself, Silverstone, a track I think that favours high speed. I think the McLaren is going to have the upper hand in terms of the raw straight line speed. But I think the BMW is just going to be absolutely able to nail it through the tight corners, especially when we come round into, say, the first part of the circuit, and through Village, in the loop, and then through Aintree, and then through the likes of Maggots and Beckett's as well. What I have noticed, though, as well, tyres are going to play a huge factor in tonight's race. So Gregor Schill even, and Arthur Kammerer behind the wheel of the number 89 BS Plus competition car, and George Boothby and Luke Whitehead behind the wheel of the Yas Heat GTWR car. 89, 75, that's the 2 cars to keep an eye out for the lead of the championship. But outside of that, Ewan, looking at the points, I mean, there are still some major bragging rights to be had here, especially, say, for 4th place there. You've only got 41 points split in 3 cars.
Absolutely, yeah, it's very close in that competition for 4th position. I mean, even Volante could get sucked into that fight and make it for 3rd if they have a particularly poor race here today. So that's certainly one to watch. I mean, the most impressive team probably, and I think the team that's going to finish at least 4th, maybe even 3rd in this championship, is the Yas Heat community car. They're currently in 5th position in these standings. And they've been on great form since they joined. They didn't even attend the first 2 races, but since then, in the 5 races they have been here for, they've been on the podium 4 times and even won a race. So they're certainly the team on a bit of a roll right now, and I think they could very well go home with the 4th position today, even 3rd, if the Volante team do not have a very good race. But let's see how the race really pans out in the opening moments of qualifying at the moment. It's Luke Whitehead is currently leading, only 1/100th of a second though, separating 1 and 2.
That's exactly right. So Luke Whitehead fired in the shots, and have a look at that. McLaren 1, 2, 3 right now. Very interesting story. Kind of backs up what I was saying so far. But that's also because we haven't had the madman Gregor Schill putting in a lap time yet. Jaroslav Honzig, 2nd place there, just 1/100th of a second behind Luke Whitehead in this all-important final round of the GTA Mega Challenger Cup. And 9 minutes, 15 seconds left to go. The Porsches, it's been a little bit surprising for me this season, Ewan, to see the Porsches kind of stuck essentially in no man's land. They really haven't been able to get a foothold into any of these races here.
They have struggled maybe a little bit more than you would expect, certainly. I mean, the Giardia community car is probably the strongest of them. Currently, Voigtner driving that at the moment, the 116 we're talking about there. Only a couple of podiums here this season. 2nd place at Misano, so a good performance last week. But you're right, it may be a little bit more struggling than you would expect. It really has been a show of BMW versus McLaren throughout this season, rather than any others really getting involved here in this one, I'm afraid, which is a shame, of course. We'd like to see loads of different manufacturers up towards the front and really fighting it out, but for whatever reason, the Porsche has just been slightly off the pace in relation to the others.
So I'm looking at the points table and the scoring from all the different rounds here, Ewan, and there's an interesting mini pattern that emerges. So I'm looking at BS+ competition, who have had silver, 2 golds, silver, 2 golds, outside of the top 3. Does that mean that they're going to be on for gold tonight? And then you've got Yas Heat GTWR, who have went silver, bronze, gold. Does that then mean they're on for a bronze or a silver tonight? A weird little pattern occurring in both of those cars.
Yeah, there has been a weird pattern, really, especially in the BS competition one that was finally broken last week. It's a bit of a strange pattern going on there, but yeah, I mean, it is bizarre how these things go. But at the end of the day, it's just pure coincidence. We can read into it all we want to, but it is all a bit of coincidence, and it's just about performing on the day for these guys. So yeah, we'll see how they do. But yeah, Gregor Shield certainly performing well at the moment, going over the line there. 56.4, by the way, much quicker than he managed in free practice. So it turns out we really couldn't read too much into those times.
There we go, 0.3 of a second, absolutely obliterates the field so far just now. As you see, Jonathan Riley up into 3rd position there with a 14 McLaren, 0.3 of a second off of that as well. So Luke Whitehead and Jonathan Riley in 2nd and 3rd, Jaroslav Honzig in 4th, Felix Diepers in 5th place, Max Voigtner in 6th, then Victor Nicolai in 7th, 8th place is Noah Sully, Vasquez Rodriguez, and then 9th place is Valek with Brian McConnell in 10th place just now. Still 6.5 minutes left to go in qualifying here, Ewan. Still plenty of time to get things going back. And this is the strange thing that we see about qualifying, isn't it? We see usually some fast lap times going in just now, but then give it 2-3 minutes to go, then we see the absolute rocket alien laps coming out.
We certainly saw that last time out with Mazzano. There was some real late lap times coming in that were a lot better than the previous ones. We didn't really see the best of these guys in the opening rounds of times, but then as the session went on, they got better, which is a little bit contrary to what we've seen in previous rounds. Actually, it has been a little bit strange, but yeah, we could well see that once again. The real fast times coming in real late on in this session, but it really depends. I don't think these guys are actively thinking, or just get a banker in here in the first little run, and then I can really go for it in the second half. I think they are going all out the entire time, but there is a limit as to how fast these cars can actually go, and these guys are pretty much touching it. So once you do go up to that limit, what your car can do, then there isn't a lot more you can actually get out of it. And some people do struggle with that late on in these sessions. So we'll see how it goes on. But we just see some absolutely fantastic late lap times coming in from Grantis Caracas, it was, who took the pole position, I believe, last week at Mazzano.
Certainly was. Let's stay on board with Jaroslav Honzig then as he comes through Village then down into the loop. You want to get the car tucked in as early as you possibly can, let the car roll out through Aintree then, this sweeping left-hander. Again, the first 2 laps of this outlap, you cannot afford to go full pace over that curb on the inside, otherwise you are going absolutely flying down the Wellington straight on the break into Brooklands. Again, a nice tight left-hander, not as tight as you like to think. You will end up putting 2 wheels on the grass and possibly spin yourself out as you go around the right-hander at Luffield. Funny tip, I actually managed to spin my little Citroen C1 there at Luffields during the 24-hour race under a safety car. That was fun. Through Woodkip along the straight here, and we're going to just abandon that lap right in the middle of the because that's how we roll here. Never mind. Here's Gregor Schill on the way past the hangar straight then into Stowe Corner. So the number 89 currently sitting on pole position then through Vale. And this is going to be on the run down towards Club Corner. Tight left-right complex here on the brakes. Avoid the curb on the left-hand side. Ease on the throttle. You've got to be so patient. Now you can hammer it down. And it's all about getting the exit here out of Club and along the Hamilton Straight. Now, Ewan, being a consummate professional like myself here, how often do you get the two mixed up, the two ends, at Cops and Abbey?
Well, the two, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, fairly. It does hurt my brain a little bit sometimes. I must be honest. Figuring out quite where the pits are supposed to be and where the start-finish line is, and so on and so forth. I do wish that every series would do it the same sometimes, but obviously that's not the case. And when we go racing here, real life in GT3s here, they often use the old pit lane, don't they? And for some others, they use the normal one. So it does hurt my head on occasion, but it can't. It's not a. It does make life a bit easier, I imagine, at the actual circuit having two pit lanes when you've got so many cars about. You can put all the others in this pit lane back here. So that does make life easier. But I think this particular opening complex will kind of string things out a little bit earlier. If you look at the opening complex of the other section, as we're seeing here, it does lead to one or two more incidents, in my experience, than this particular layout we're using here with Cops as turn one.
That's very, very true. Good evening to Lucana Scappa, who is wanting to send his love and prayers and candles for the number 119. That's the Volante Racing number 2 McLaren of Ben McConnell and Robin Hulaman. So yeah, great to see the support. And like I say, we want to see who you guys out there are chatting on for tonight. We want to see who you're supporting. Here's my concern. 2 minutes left to go. Gregor Schill, 0.3 of a second up the roads. Fair enough, it's the number 75 of Luke Whitehead just behind. But as it stands, if Luke can't get it done into turn one, it's done and dusted, because that 89 has to finish in 5th position if they even have a chance of this tonight.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, they are going to have to stay very, very close at the very least through the opening section here and put a lot of pressure onto that 89 straight away. They do ideally need to get the lead early on, but it's going to be easier said than done. Gregor Shield very good at any circuit, particularly here at Silverstone as well, where he's particularly strong. He's out-qualified every other BMW in the field by at least 0.7 of a second. He's put nearly a second into Felix Deepers in one lap here as well. So he's obviously very, very strong. And Luke Whitehead is going to have his work cut out to try and get through. But I reckon he is going to give it a very, very good go in these opening laps. And he needs to, because he can't let this field get too strung out. As you mentioned, those guys in the 89 need to finish 5th or worse for the 75 team to even stand a chance.
One of the other things we saw at Nürburgring is the unforced errors can creep in. Now, they have been an issue for BS+ competition. We've seen that setups can really, really affect them. So again, it's not saying that it's not possible. It's saying that it's going to need a hefty, hefty effort. But nonetheless, we're going to have probably 3 more cars that will get on to qualifying. I think the 72 of Haskell in the BMW will get across the line, potentially the number 2 as well of Bollinger. In fact, yes, they have. So Bollinger gets across as we see Luke Whitehead then down into Stowe Corner for the final time. This is huge. He's got traffic up in front of him into Vale and then into Club Corner. And I don't know if he's going to be able to improve on this. Might be getting a little bit of a toll from that McLaren in front. Let's have a look, because Gregor Schill has extended the gap. We didn't see that there. It's up to 0.4 of a second, and it's coming through. And there you go. There's a perfect example, Ewan. Sorry, I was getting excited thinking he was just about to come over the line here, and he's only halfway around the circuit. He's still got the tail end of the circuit here as he comes out of Aintree to go down the Wellington Straight. This is where it all matters, and this is where that tow actually could be quite beneficial here. Yeah, this is nervous time, because at the moment 0.4 of a second, that's done and dusted, and I'm wondering if that car is slightly compromised now.
Yeah, it is really. It's already Endurance just up in front, which is not a teammate of Luke Whitehead's here, and so I don't think he's really giving the slipstream at all. They've just mistimed this one really in their dash to get across the line before the checkered flag. They are going to get another nice slipstream here. Is it going to be anywhere near enough? Not a chance, I'm afraid. 4 tenths away from Gregor Schill. It's only second for GTWR and Yas Heat. there in that qualifying session. Absolutely not where they wanted to be whatsoever. But you got to hand it to Gregor Schill, as I mentioned, putting nearly a second into every other BMW in the field. Felix Deep has just moves up into 6th place there, to become the second fastest BMW in that qualifying session. But Schill was so much quicker than everybody else there, including all of the McLarens, the Porsches, the other BMWs, you name it. He was faster than them all and takes the perfect start into this championship finale. You mentioned the tactic. It's very clear now for Luke Whitehead. He absolutely has to pile on the pressure in these opening laps of this race.
Yeah, that's exactly what he needs to do. Gregor Schill then for BS Plus competition, taking pole position from Luke Whitehead. Their competitors, their number 2s in the championship. Yas Heat, GTWR in that 2nd place. Then 3rd place for Jaroslav Honzig with Jonathan Riley in 4th. Max Voitna in 5th. Felix Diepers in 6th. Victor Nikolai in 7th. Christopher Streppen in 8th. Lucas Sidor in 9th place. And then it's Wojciech Dvorak in 10th position there. So, where do we go from here then, Ewan? It's looking increasingly like it's a strong start for Gregor Schill. It's a strong start for Arthur Kammerer. Everything looking very good for BS Plus competition right now.
Certainly is. It's the absolute perfect start. As you mentioned, if they finish in the top 4 here in this race, there's absolutely nothing that anybody else can do to stop them from winning the championship at that stage. And getting on pole here is the absolute dream start for them. So, yeah, the championship's certainly in their hands, and that's exactly the way you want it, really. You don't want to be relying on results going your way at all. You want to, especially as the championship leader, you don't want to be finishing down in 5th and then hoping that Luke Whitehead and George Boopy don't win the race. You want to be inside that top 4, taking this championship by the scruff of the neck, taking matters into your own hands, and just making your life a whole lot easier. And this pole position has certainly done that. Obviously, Arthur Kammerer is, you could say, kind of the number 3 driver in this team, replacing Angus Fender, who has done most of the races here this season. I believe this is Kammerer's 2nd performance, quite possibly, or 2nd appearance, I should say, in the GT Omega Challenger Cup. I'm not entirely sure on that. It's certainly not any more than 4. But yeah, he's still a very strong driver, as you know. Very well versed in ACC, and he will absolutely do a job here as he's been called upon for this team to step in for Fender. He will do a job, I'm sure, and they'll have no worries about his performance in the second half of this race.
Yeah, I'm a little bit devastated for Angus Fender. GT Omega putting out one of the graphics earlier on, and yeah, Angus was decided that he wasn't beautiful enough to use on the social media post. So mate, I'm sorry. I feel for you, but we heard it was a BS Plus competition order that came direct from high above, and yeah, you're just there to do the work, mate. That's what it is. Of course, I'm joking. 2 seconds left to go before we get round for the final time this season. Ewan, what a season we've had so far. I was panicking there for a minute there. Honestly, I was like, we do have a formation start, don't we? And they were just all sitting there. Anyway, point being, what a season we've had. I mean, we were looking at this, and the drivers coming into this thinking, well, it'll be a good championship. We'll maybe get sort of like 10 cars or something like that. And then we had about 20 plus. And then the names of the teams that were coming in absolutely blew me away.
Yeah, we've had some real big names, and we still do have some real big names in the world of sim racing, the world of ACC particularly, here on the grid here today, which is absolutely great to see. And so, yeah, very impressive indeed. Still 17 cars for this championship finale. The numbers haven't really tailed off at all from what we've seen in the opening couple of rounds. And so, yeah, this series has really gone from strength to strength, and it's been great to kind of watch along with this one and cover some of the races as well. And it's been a great season indeed, and hopefully it's going to come to a great finale as well. As you mentioned, the team's big names, of course, and 2 of the biggest names of all are fighting it out for this title, and are going to be over the next 90 minutes.
Well, that is exactly right. So the cars making their way down the first half of the circuit here. at Silverstone. If you have just joined us, a very good evening, a warm welcome. Welcome to the official GT Omega TV Twitch stream. It's Dave Christie and Ewan O'Leary taking you through all of the action from tonight's final race here. We would absolutely love it if you want to hit that subscribe button underneath and be part of the family here at GT Omega TV and get to enjoy such things as seeing the GT Omega guys playing Mario Party. I caught that at the weekend. I absolutely loved it. It looked like an absolute hoot. I cannot wait to get an invite and to thoroughly fall out with everyone after they nick my stars 5 minutes from the end of the game. Have you played Mario Party there?
I have not, no.
You have not. You don't know what pain is, other than thinking that you've got friends who will do you dirty like that. It's a game where you go around this board and you complete in these mini games and you earn stars. And then there's always this thing where someone has the chance to win all of your stars that you've worked so hard for. Handily, it's a perfect game for practicing your nunchuck skills with your controller. But anyway, that's enough from Mario Party. We'll get more of that here on the channel at GT Omega TV very, very soon, because we have to focus now. We have to turn our attention here to the cars as they make their way around the start of the course here to start our final race of the season. And we hope that this is the sight that we're going to see all night. BS+ competition and Yas Heat side by side coming down the Wellington Straight. Ewan, final thoughts before we go racing?
Oh, it's certainly all in BS Competition's hands, and it's going to be a great fight for them. Luke Whitehead and GTWR Yas Heat need to do an awful lot in the next 90 minutes to try and take this championship away. So let's see if they can do it. Bit of a messy form up here, it has to be said. But hopefully they can all get themselves ready and get themselves lined up nicely, and we'll get underway for a great final race of action.
Here we go then, 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 round the final corner here at Silverstone for the GT Omega Challenger Cup. We get ready to go live here. Woodcut corner is what stands between all of these cars. It's into the pit lane. Is that Jaroslav Honzig that's already in the pit lane there? It is. Wow, that is devastating there for that number 39 car. Anyway, we keep our attention here. Despite the distraction tactics that are going on, I wonder if that has been a hardware failure, because that car is absolutely stopped in pit lane. Bizarre situation here, and we get ready to go racing here. The green light goes, the green flag flies, and here at Silverstone, the heart of racing here in the UK, we get underway then. It's a great start for Gregor Schill with Luke Whitehead following on closely behind. Looks like the 14 has got going again of Jonathan Riley, sorry, not Jaroslav Honzig then. This is where it all matters then. These first couple of laps is where the McLaren really has to try and eat into that advantage that the BMW's got. It's a great start though from the top three. You can already see a little bit of chaos and carnage kicking off behind, but it is going to be your race leader then, the BMW out front. And these guys, I mean, Gregor Schill, Luke Whitehead and Jaroslav Honzig, they're away.
Yeah, they certainly have. I mean, I think there's been some incidents behind off camera that we haven't seen, because the 116 has gone well down the order. Voigtner qualified fairly well, certainly inside the top 10. He's now dead last almost, with the exception of Jonathan Riley. These three certainly have had good starts, but they've been helped somewhat by the incidents that have gone on off camera just behind some of these shots that Magnus and Beckett's, I think it was, for the first time of asking. But all of this, once again, plays into the hands of BS Competition. Their pole position performance obviously helped them out a great deal. The fact that Jonathan Riley in the 14 come into the pit lane and is already out of the race by the looks of things has helped them as well. That's a car that can't take points away from them that could have done previously. And of course this start, which has allowed the top three to get away. As we know, even if they finish third, the title will still be theirs.
Do you think that's going to play into the mind at all of BS+ competition? Personally, I don't. I think they're still always going to go for the win here. But given they know that they just have to finish in the top 5, do you think they're maybe going to kind of ease off we've kind of got our answer here as we have a quick look at the replay. I'll come back to you on that one here, Ewan. Let's have a look what happened further down then. So this is 4th, 5th and 6th. This is going to be through Maggots and Beckett's then into the grass on the inside there. A little bit of contact, and oh, that's really, really unfortunate. That's the Jardier community team there that were caught up in that one. And, well, I think they've been served their own penalty by having to go to the tail end, as Christopher Streppen in the Bentley already has a 5-second penalty, but it is still Gregor Schill from Luke Whitehead from Jaroslav Honzik here. And Schill wanting to try and break away, but that's very deep into stone. That's a mistake from Luke Whitehead. That is pushing that car a little bit too hard here, and it's moments like that that are going to influence the outcome of this race.
Yeah, they certainly are. Just opening up those couple of car lengths there in front of Whitehead, which is not ideal at all as we go a little bit further back, and there's lots of side-by-side racing going on back here. Yeah, just to speak on the incident that we saw on replay there, that's contact and around for the 72, I'm afraid, that is going to go to the back of the field, and indeed we see the McLaren of Prescott getting involved there as well, unfortunately for him. But yeah, I mean, Voigtner there just getting a lot of understeer through Maggots and Beckett's, just drifting ever so slightly wide into the 31, I think it was, who he got into the side of. It could have been the 99 of Deepers, because he's dropped down the order a little bit, but either way, one of the two of them, it was indeed this car, the 99, I think, but yeah, just drifting ever so slightly wide into the side of a BMW and spun themselves around, and yeah, it's not really helped out the BMW either. So yeah, unfortunate incident, but these things do happen. Side by side through Maggots and Beckett's is always very tight.
Yeah, you pay your money, you take your chances. That's exactly what we say here. But an hour and 25 minutes left to go here in the race, and it's not looking good. That's all we can surmise from things right now, because it's a lot of pressure being put on Luke Whitehead right now from Jaroslav Honzik, when really it needed to be the other way about. And as long as that BMW is at the front, then this McLaren is going to struggle. I also think that Luke is maybe pushing his car a little bit too far. I don't know if you've picked up on it, Ewan, but the car looking very twitchy on corner exit. He gets the car slowed down, gets the car pulled in, but it's either on the acceleration out, or as a result of carrying too much speed through, he just looks a little bit ragged coming out of these corners here, and that's what's allowing Jaroslav Honzik at the back there to catch up.
Somewhat. There may well be an element of overdriving the car, but we did say earlier on these opening minutes were going to be absolutely crucial. He needed to get in front of Schill, or at least apply a lot of pressure to him out early on here, because even if he does now slowly reel Schill in and overtake him, only Honzik is behind at the minute, and he might not be there by the time if/when he gets there. So he really needs to keep this field very close, in the hope that Schill is going to lose a lot of positions, because as we mentioned, losing only 2 from this position will not be enough for the 75 teams. So these opening moments are crucial, but there is maybe an element of pushing too hard. There certainly is a danger of going that way. As you saw the 199 of Volante Racing going very sideways into turn 1 there, and this battle seems pretty interesting as well. Christopher Streppen was leading it earlier before Victor Nicolai got through. Not sure where Verstappen actually got this penalty or what it's for, actually, because it was on the formation lap. I'm pretty sure he picked this one up. But either way, he has got a penalty, and battling side by side very hard indeed, actually, over this 4th position.
Well, on that note, penalties are going to be a huge thing, given that Maggots and Beckett's, I think, are going to be the most egregious for track cuts. We see 2 10-second penalties being given out there. That might have been race control, who have already made decisions. We can certainly go and find out on that. But just thinking about this final race so far, is there anything that's jumping out to you for the start of this? In fact, actually, just to confirm, the 99 and 116 getting penalties, 10-second penalties for causing a minor collision there. So that is a 10-second penalty for Felix Deepers and for Max Voigtner for early contact in the race here.
I'm not sure if that was due to the same incident. Oh my goodness, as Verstappen goes very sideways into Stowe Corner, he's going to lose a place to Yuri Valek for that one. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure if they've both got 10-second penalties for the same incident, because if they have, that is a very strange one. But either way, we'll have to get to the bottom of it and try and figure out quite what happened there. Certainly, Voigtner, in my opinion, was at fault for the contact with the BMW. The BMW was stuck right to the left-hand side of Maggots and Beckett's. They're using all of the road and indeed even a little bit more. And Voigtner still drifted wide into the side of it. It wasn't intentional, but there was just a lot of understeer in that Porsche, and he couldn't get it turned enough. The contact was made, and the BMW did lose out because of that. I'm not sure if Deepers was also given a penalty for the very same incident, because in my opinion that would be a little bit weird to see two people getting a penalty for the same incident when it's a two-car incident.
It's not. I can confirm it's not. Lap 1, it was an incident between the 99 and the 116. That was the Jardier community car, so that was the one that we saw, and that was a 10-second penalty to the 99 for that one. And then it was a 10-second penalty at the 116. Oh, and that's contact from Robin Hulleman on the tail end of the 28 car there. That is FDSR, and that was Adam Foster getting, I believe, that was Adam Foster getting nudged around, or was that actually Felix Deepers that was just behind there? That was Felix Deepers on Robin Hulleman. So yeah, apologies about that one. I got a little bit mixed up there. So yeah, it was the 116 and the 72, and that was the RevSport International machine of Ed Haskell that got turned round, and that is why the 116 has that 10-second penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of it's always a difficult one being a steward, isn't it? You don't really it's not a desirable job, but yeah, it's someone's got to do it and hand out these penalties. Unfortunately, a few already had to have been handed out, but Deepers looks like he's trying to recover from that at the moment, trying to go around the outside of Robin Hulleman there. The R&E Endurance car didn't qualify this one, interestingly, but elected to start the race, which is an interesting call. But under a lot of pressure from Deepers at the moment. It's a rude awakening to this circuit, because obviously he hasn't been out there driving particularly much. His teammate has been qualifying the car, but it is a nice fight. 8th position, 5 cars involved, including Voigtner, who's trying to get up the order after that early incident, as is Deepers as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. And some battles then, all going through. Gregor Schill, Luke Whitehead, and Jaroslav Honzik. As you can see, that is Zito, Pradol, and Voigtner all involved in that one. They're all duking out, so it's the battle of the two Porsches and the Aston Martin, and the Porsches lean on each other a little bit there. That is a little bit touchy-feely for my liking there from Maximilian Pradol there for Writer Engineering Esports in the 724. Is he going to send it? He looks very, very aggressive. He is going to send it. He's trying to send it up the inside there. He's going to try and do it, and you get sent off into the grass. Well, the cynical person in me, Ewan, says that unfortunately got everything that he was asking for there, because he was a little bit overly aggressive, if you ask me. But then I'm a very grumpy old man, and he got sent off into the grass there. I think that is all the penalty that is needed, as we see Felix Deepers decide to try and have another look around the inside. Ooh, that was too close, Ewan. Tell me that wasn't too close.
Well, considering he got involved in an incident in the opening lap through Maggots and Beckett's there, you'd expect him to be maybe a little bit more cautious, but the roles were reversed on that time. He was on the inside line, but still couldn't quite get it done. The straight line speed, though, of this BMW looks like it might just pull through and get Deepers this 8th position, although Hulleman very deep on the brakes on the outside there, able to take a nice wide line and a smoother line through the outside of Stowe Corner, giving him the inside of the first part of the chicane, I should say. He dives it in deep, shuts the door on Deepers there, and makes sure he can't go around the outside to get the inside for this part, although such a good exit for the BMW that the McLaren nearly made it there anyway. Fortunately for Deepers, he remains behind the McLaren, although this nice bit of top-end straight-line speed that it has in the 99 might well just be enough for Deepers to be able to get through into Stowe Corner, into Stowe Corner next time around.
This is like watching race 3 of a touring car race, where it's like the day is done and they're just happy to bop each other about here, because it's getting a little bit physical than compared to what we've seen so far this season. Certainly with the Aston Martin and the Porsche here. This is Guido Zito for last minute, and Maximilian Prudhomme for that Writer Engineering in the 724 just behind him. Championship wise, as that is from last week from Prudhomme, that was never going to be slowed down there. Gregor Schildo in the lead of this race, 2.2 seconds ahead of Luke Whitehead, who is under still pressure from Jaroslav Honzig. Then it's 8 seconds back to Victor Nikolai, then Yuri Valek in 5th position, Christopher Streppin in that 6th position as well, Adam Foster in 7th, then it's Robin Hulaman in 8th, Felix Diepers in 9th, and Max Voitner in 10th position. But for how long? Because battles all over the place here, and it looks like nobody is wanting to take no for an answer here.
Yeah, absolutely. Why would you? It's the last race of the season. Everybody's got nothing to lose here and going all out. What a great exit that was as well from Felix Diepers coming through Maggots and Beckett's. He's getting chased down now. They all are from Voitner. And these two, of course, have already clashed in this race. So he does not want to really embark on this situation, does Diepers. So he's going to try and get through as quickly as possible. That is a lovely switchback through Stowe. He gets through a little bit of contact maybe with Hulaman there, who maybe wasn't even aware that BMW was trying to sneak back down. He's inside, and then he tries to respond into the chicane, and that was big contact. He is almost certainly going to get a penalty for that, and I think he knows it, redressing the position almost immediately.
Yeah, but it's super overly aggressive. That is, wow. So, there's so many Scottish words we have for something like that. Mostly along the lines of "get into him, son." It's that was pretty harsh. Although the way that we saw it going into Stowe, you just knew immediately that there was going to be afterwards for that one. That's going to be a penalty, I would imagine, for sure, for Hulaman. And in fact, Hulaman's going even further down the order there. Oh man, that is brutal to see. But again, you're kind of your own worst enemy at that point, aren't you?
I mean, yeah, you got to respond somehow, I suppose. But I think he was a bit too far back to really have a dive into there was Hulaman, and so I think he will be getting a penalty for that, no matter the fact that he did give the position back, or didn't take the position, I should say. It has still caused the 99 team to lose out to Voitner and Zito there, who have both got through in that altercation. So. Yeah, I still think he is going to get a penalty for that one, and that's going to add to our growing list at this stage of penalties that we have. We always have to factor these in, of course, throughout the race. These are not penalties that they have to come in and serve as a stop-go. They will just add it to their pit stop time when we get to that window. In 25 minutes' time it will open.
That is exactly what we are going to have to watch out for here. Ewan, is there anybody that has stood out in the first 15 minutes for you?
I mean, it's hard to say other than the obvious Gregor Schildo, isn't it, at this stage, really? He's obviously got away from the rest of the field very, very quickly indeed. It's hard to put your finger on any other performances that really come close to that one, as boring and obvious as that is. He was just doing all that he knows at the moment, which is just going as quickly as possible. And it's proving very, very effective right now. So yeah, it's very hard to say anybody else other than that. No, it's the boring answer. But yeah, 3.3 seconds of a lead, only 15 minutes in. When the championship is on the line, all the pressure that comes with that, it's a very impressive opening for BS competition.
So here we go then, back to Luke Whitehead. Fastest lap of the race there, Gregor Schildo. But Luke Whitehead still having to defend on from Jaroslav Honzig. I'm going to throw a little wild theory out here and say that Jaroslav is quite happy to sit behind a Luke Whitehead until the pit stops are done, and then maybe make a move in the final third of the race.
It's certainly a tactic that could be ideal. I mean, I feel like in terms of this battle for second, I don't feel like anything that Honzig does is really going to change the outcome of, or the limit of what he can achieve. Even if he does get through on Whitehead, how many, what kind of inroads is he going to be able to make into that lead? And indeed, they do start battling. Are the guys from behind really going to start overtaking them and challenging them? Well, Nikolai is 7.5 seconds away. Valek another 4.5. I don't think Valek or Dvorak have actually got the pace to really stick with these two when it comes down to it. So I don't really feel like there's any advantage or disadvantage to staying behind or going in front at the moment. There's kind of these two have kind of resigned themselves to finish second and third, and it doesn't really matter what happens at this stage, whether they battle or not.
Here's the other thing: is the fact that what I want to know is that BS Plus competition car. What are they doing that is so different to everyone else? Because we've seen tracks where the McLarens have been dominant. We've seen tracks where the other BMWs have been a second lap slower. How much of it do you think is driver skill, Ewan, and how much of it do you think is the team setup, the effort that's went in for the prep on the car?
I think in terms of this particular race here at Silverstone, the effect of Gregor Schue can't be underestimated. You look at where the other BMWs are, where they were in qualifying. You put nearly a second into both the 31 and the 99 over one lap in qualifying. So I think that is almost entirely down to the driver skill of Gregor Schue. Can't forget about that SRO race he won here on Saturday. So obviously this circuit will be very fresh in his mind, and we know that he goes well around here. In terms of the season overall, I don't really know why they've done so. I think limiting the damage at circuits they've not been so good at has been a real strength of BS competitions. Obviously, winning 4 out of the 7 races so far. Misano, not a strong circuit for the BMW, particularly not a strong circuit for that team, and they didn't limit the damage too well. But in terms of the Spa race, that really was hailed as a McLaren circuit, and they still gained points on their nearest rivals, Yas Heat GTWR. Obviously, the Yas Heat community car won the race, which is a McLaren, and they did lose out to that team, obviously. But the team currently in third. But they knew that they had them at a distance in the championship, and it wouldn't really matter. It just limited the damage really well on the team in second place at the moment. It's down to a combination of things, but the team obviously got to be credited for it, and the drivers, of course, as well, for just minimising the damage on those days when the BMW is not quite as strong.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with everything that you've just said there. I think consistency has been the one key factor that we can take away from this GT Omega Championship BMW BS Plus competition. They just have had so much consistency, good fortune, preparation, whatever you want to say. They've had it in their favour. Luke Whitehead though, and Yas Heat GTWR, I don't think we can take anything away from George Boothby and Luke Whitehead here. They've done an impeccable season this season, and arguably, I think if it was any other championship and BS Plus competition weren't in it, it would have been worthy of walking away with the championship.
Possibly. You do have to obviously think back to that round at Kyalami. Maybe they could have done a little bit more, but it's hard to be too harsh on them for only finishing off the podium once, and that was the 4th place. It's hard to be too harsh on a team that haven't finished lower than 4th position over an 8-race championship. That looks like to be continuing if the results stay as they are at the moment. So, yeah, you would have to say that without BS competition here, there would be very deserving winners in Yas Heat, but it's not the way it's gone. We see this in some title fights all the time, that neither championship contender really deserves to lose, but obviously one of them has to. On any other season, this team might have done enough. But, the BMW has just been a little bit more consistent more often and done that a little bit better to be able to put itself in a position to win this championship. At the moment, they're over 4 seconds in front of Whitehead and Honzik. Obviously, it's not over yet. Absolutely not. We've still got to see Auto Camera finish the job a little bit later on, about 20 minutes, 30 minutes time. However, it's looking very good.
It certainly is. In a controlled drive, you've got safe from Jaroslav Honzik here. The much loved son of the sim racing community. He is somebody that we hold very dear to our hearts, but that's enough of the love in just now, because we've got another 6 to 8 minutes left to go here. Giro Zito in the last minute competition onto the back of is that Felix Deepers? It is no, sorry, excuse me, that's Rob Hulaman on the back of Giro Zito here. Right, let's get a replay here of Luke Whitehead's. Right, okay. So apologies, that was back to the live footage here. The thing with this is that I don't know if you saw, but Felix Deepers absolutely sent it from last week on Giro Zito, and got a position, got 9th place out of it. A very ballsy move, and I guess that's exactly how you have to treat it.
Absolutely. Sometimes, obviously, we have criticised one or two very, very, well, I don't want to say outrageous moves, but very ambitious moves, maybe, from one or two of the drivers here so far. But sometimes those are the ones that are required and necessary to go through, and in the end, we do often praise those who go through it when they do pull off, and obviously call them all sorts when they don't come off. So yeah, sometimes it is worth a try. And we do see that on occasion. It's always entertaining to see as well. But not expecting to see any of that in this battle for second at the moment. And their way through Stone into the chicane once more. Hunzik seems more than happy to stick where he is right now.
That is exactly what we are watching unfold here. If you have just joined us, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the GT Omega TV Twitch channel. This is the final round of the GT Omega Challenger Cup with David Christie here with you and Ewan O'Leary bringing you all of the action. It is poised on a knife edge, but as it stands right now, BS+ Competition out front in the lead of this race and out front commandingly in the championship. To win the championship, your nearest rival, which is GTWR Yas Heat right here in the 75, had to win the race and had to have BS+ Competition in 5th place. It isn't over. There's still plenty of racing still to go, as we see Yuri Valek and Christoph Verstappen involved in a little bit of fisticuffs here. Is that going to try and go up the inside? No, it's not. That's through Maggots and Beckett's. It's going to be the run down. I think the Bentley might have the upper hand here.
Looks like it, although the outside line for Brooklands, which is quite a long corner, not as slow as you might think, but it's still a very long corner, although it does give you the inside for Luffield. The Porsche slams itself in front of the Bentley, and it didn't really look like Verstappen had much time to really stop himself from going straight into the back of Valek there, so can't really fault him too much for going into the back of the Porsche. But there we are, contact was made, and Valek is now through. Porsche into the top 5 to make it 3 different manufacturers inside the top 5 at the moment. Verstappen not going to take this one line down by the looks of things, going to the outside line once again. 8 seconds in front of them, 7 seconds behind. They're very willing to fight each other, even at this early stage in the race. They absolutely don't mind having a bit of a scrap now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of fun. That's all it is that's there at this stage in the race here. The Bentley's going to get a good run out of that, and this is going to be down towards Stowe then. I think that Porsche does have the measure of it, but it's jiggling about an awful lot under braking for my liking. But still, fascinating little battle going on here. And as close as Jaroslav Honzik is to Luke Whitehead in second and third, I don't think he's going to be making a move. Just the body language of that car means, for me at least, he's happy to sit behind that car.
As I said earlier, it doesn't really matter whether he does or not, because I don't think, with Whitehead in front at the moment, they're running line of stern. They're not catching Schill. With Honzik in front, I can't really see them catching Schill either. They fight a lot. Nikolai might get into the fray, but I don't really think so. The two of them look like they have the pace over him, because the gap's now extended to 9 seconds. West Competition Racing BMW, so really can't see anything Honzik doing really changing this race, and so why would you kind of increase your race time by fighting at this early stage? You might as well run line astern and just hope a mistake is made up in front. That's the only hope they've really got at this stage. It's to hope for a mistake from Schill in both of those cars. Honzik obviously just looking to try and pick up a win, maybe another win, second of the season. Whitehead obviously looking to pick up a championship, and so fighting for either of these at the moment is not really beneficial and a bit pointless, really.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're not going to just stay behind for the sake of staying behind. So I think he's happy to stay there as long as there's nobody else behind, which there isn't at the moment. We'll keep an eye on Victor Nikolai. but it is all about the momentum right now. That's what it all counts on right now. As we've got about an hour left to go in the race here. Gregor Schill leads Luke Whitehead from Jaroslav Honzig. Victor Nikolai in 4th position. Yuri Valek in 5th position. Christopher Streppen a second behind in 6th. Adam Foster in 7th. Max Voigtner in 8th. Felix Diepers in 9th. And Robin Hulaman in 10th position. So, wow, what an opening half an hour to this race. But in the grand scheme of things, fairly calm at the front.
It has certainly been fairly calm at the front. I want to speak a little bit, though, on the championship implications. We've talked a lot about the for first that's going on between Schill and Whitehead, 89 and the 75, but I haven't really talked about the battle for much for third, and it will change today by the looks of things, because I think, well, we already know, Jonathan Riley in that Volante Racing car is a DNF already from this race. Didn't even get to take the green flag. Not entirely sure why. We haven't had any word through as to why that car retired quite so early. However, it did. And so that does open the door for West Competition Racing and Yas Heat Community and Jardier Community cars, all of those cars, to maybe make inroads into that and maybe overtake them. Well, at the moment, it looks like West Competition Racing are indeed going to overtake them at the moment. They're gaining 118 points, and they only need a few, really. They need, what's that, 43? So they don't need many. At the moment, they are holding off Jaroslav Honzik in that Yas Heat Community car. The car that I've been, I have to say, most impressed with since they joined at round 3. They've only finished off the podium once. That's also a trend that looks like continuing here today. But the 7 points that they're currently gaining on West Competition Racing isn't quite enough for them to get up into 3rd place. Even if they were to gain another 10 by making this overtake here, it still wouldn't be enough either, because the gap between the two is 39 points. It's looking unlikely that they're going to be able to quite get into 3rd. But for the moment, West Competition Racing look like they might well do after the unfortunate demise of Volante Racing right at the very start of this race.
Yeah, that really put the cat amongst the pigeons, and we were literally saying before the final race begun here just how close it was with that group at 4th, 5th and 6th position. Seeing picture in picture, though, this is going to be side by side, and that is contact, and I get the feeling that that is Christopher Streppen that has been sent off to the inside there in that 6th position by, in fact, no, yeah, that was Christopher Streppen, and that would have been Yuri Valek that's done that.
Yeah, it would have been, those two have been battling once again very hard, and you can see how much time they've lost to Nikolai. I do believe that Nikolai maybe is a little bit quicker, but 12 seconds is not a representative of their pace. They are certainly, or they have certainly, been battling just a little bit here in this race here, as the battle for second still continues. It doesn't matter whether they're battling or not, the gap still increases.
Certainly is. So as we come up to an hour left to go in the race then, again, little pockets of battles all the way through the field here. We're constantly watching this little fight here between Luke Whitehead and Jaroslav Honzik. It feels like this is kind of insult to injury for the number 75 Yas Heat GTWR outfit, fighting with the number 39 there. And it's just been a difficult one all season, because the Yas Heat community against the Yas Heat GTWR, that's the other thing to take out of this. There's not going to be, I would imagine, any proper fighting going on between these two, but they still don't need to, because they're 8.7 seconds up the road. Looking as well, it looks like that seems to be the tightest gap out of the entire field.
Certainly does. Those two running nose to tail, as they have been for a little while now. So they're just continuing to battle away, if you can even call this a battle at this stage. Is very much follow the leader between the two of them. He's still gaps opening up a little bit behind. Valek and Verstappen was a battle we were enjoying a little bit further down as well, but that looks to have been settled with that little incident they had on that previous lap. Verstappen is going to fall down a little bit further back anyway, because of the 5-second penalty that he has. His name right now. First time, Hanzik just pulls alongside the 18-year-old there. Maybe we'll have a go down the Wellington straight. Whitehead aware of his presence, Honzik does look to the outside line, but does he really go for it? Yes, he brakes late. He gets his car alongside, but not far enough. Whitehead able to shut that door on him easily. Inside line coming towards Luffield as well. Stay in front of Honzik. Really bumper to bumper now. Honzik maybe realising that the race lead is not getting any closer. This battle really is for second. So he can start fighting it out with the pit window and the likely only pit stop of the day homing into view. Honzik is going to, of course, be handing over his car, as will Luke Whitehead. 20 minutes or so. Eamon Murphy, long-time teammate of Jaroslav Honzik, is going to be taking over 39, with George Boothby recently having recovered from COVID. Will be taking over from Luke Whitehead. We'll see how that affects Boothby's performance, and that's why he wasn't here last week at Mazzano, I believe. Anyway, I'm just connecting the dots there. I didn't get official word of that, but as he did have COVID during last week's race, I'm, as I say, going to piece that puzzle together. Down into the chicane. Once again, under an hour remaining in the GT Omega Challenger Cup season. Going the way of BS Competition right now with one of their most dominant drives. They've had some dominant ones so far. 4 wins out of the first 7 races. Looking to make it 5. Have more than double everybody else. Next closest team with only 2 wins. Yas Heat GTWR. Who have been very, very strong indeed. This season, but not quite strong enough. Still 3 penalties on the board there, by the way. You can see them on the left-hand side. How is that going to affect the race? At the moment, Felix Jeepers is going to come out right with Robin Hullerman, and those two have already come together today. Hullerman got into the back of the 99 BMW, spinning it around. Those two could find each other again with that 10-second penalty. Beutner isn't going to actually lose any positions because of that, because of the gaps behind him. And the fact that Jeepers also has one. Streppen, he's going to be displaced from this battle with Yuri Valik. Does actually look quicker than the Porsche driver. He's reeling him in again. 0.3 seconds now. However, is he going to be able to do that again? Or is his teammate, should I say, going to be able to do that again after the pit stops have all happened? To wait and see, really. Baggett's and Beckett's again for Whitehead and Honzik. Right here with a nice run out of Chapel and onto the hanger straight. Here we go again. Outside line into Stowe. Not too late on the brakes, but might just be late enough because he squeezes Whitehead as much as humanly possible. Barely a piece of paper between the two McLarens. Running through the fast left-hander, through the fast right-hander, I should say. No positional change. And the gap continues to open out front. 8.6 seconds is now the margin. And to new turn 1, if we were using the new lane complex. I say new. Probably not that new anymore, is it? But get the idea. Into a slower speed section. Double backing on itself. Very important. Corner before Aintree. The rung down the Wellington straight, because this opens you up for a possible opportunity at Brooklands. Although not for Honzik this time. He does show the nose, and he just fooled Whitehead almost into defending there. There wasn't really any need, but he did anyway. So Honzik stays behind again. Out of Luffield and over the line once again. Complete 18 laps here in this race through turn 1. And Copse Corner again. Jaroslav Honzik still applying the pressure to Luke Whitehead. We've been following this battle really religiously through the last few laps because it's been so close. Honzik starting to apply the pressure. He's starting to show the nose in 1 or 2 places, starting to try and make his way through, as opposed to the follow the leader kind of racing we saw in the first half an hour.
And that's exactly it. I mean, look, we've been spoiled by the action that we've had all season long, and Yeah, this is starting to look a little bit sketchy now with Jaroslav Honzik. Wants to have a look, but yeah, there we go. That is... Okay, I'm liking this. We've got a yellow flag as the 991 of Christopher Streppen goes off at Maggots and Beckett's. But, I mean, Ewan, 53 minutes left to go here. And, yeah, this is starting to get a little bit spicy here now.
Well, what has happened to Verstappen? Because he's out of the race. Completely out of the race. He went back to the pit lane straight away and straight out of this race. Not entirely sure what has gone on there, but the only Bentley in the race has now retired from this one. Real shame to see, because as I mentioned, only Bentley in the race, so we don't want to see that P2 Simsport car leaving at any point. Only 11th in the championship, which was only 6th, and they were contesting with Yuri Valik at first top 5 of the season, but it's not going to be today for them.
Well, let's have a little look at the replay then. This possibly might answer what happened to Christopher Streppen. And, you get the feeling that Porsche might be involved. Well, he's quite far back, so let's have a look here. He gets the run out of the straight here now. Is this going towards to Cop's Corner? Yes, it is. And, okay, well, nah, sorry. That's completely your own fault. You went wide. Nah. I've no sympathy here. Again, I might be incredibly harsh. I might be incredibly unsympathetic, but I've no sympathy whatsoever for that.
Yeah, I mean, he was off the road trying to make the move there, so I wouldn't pin any penalty on Valik there, but certainly there's been a little bit of stuff going on before. We didn't see all of that battle that they were having before, but it certainly, that didn't look like two cars that were meeting for the first time in terms of making contact. Oh my goodness, Luke Whitehead diving down the inside of, that's Haskell in the 72 there. He had to do that because the lap traffic was about, and he's trying to defend from Honzik at the moment. But yeah, that incident there, just to go back to that replay, doesn't look like those two cars were meeting each other for the first time, let's say. It certainly looked like there'd been a bit of stuff going on before that, and they were already pretty exasperated with each other, and that was just the culmination of that, really.
Are you trying to imply that there was some sort of fisticuffs that was going on there,
Yes.
Ewan? I would have to wholeheartedly agree with you there. As we see the 199 into pit lane now, that is going to be the other factor, isn't it, Ewan? The fact that pit stops are going to be by. How the hell is Gregor Schill 11 seconds up the road? I'm sorry, what now?
Well, impressive driving when they were all on their own, and now this battle as well, which is just allowing the lead to completely balloon. And this is the dream situation for BS Competition. The last thing they wanted is a very stressful battle in and around that 4th position to try and decide this title. In the end, I feel like the falling away of some of the other competition has helped them, but you can't fault them at all for that. They have done everything they needed to. And even if we had a full strength field with all of the big names performing right at the top of their game, I still think they would be out in a big lead at the moment and still be feeling fairly comfortable. Although, of course, there's still 50 minutes to go.
Yeah, certainly is. And those 50 minutes might be the longest 50 minutes of this Yas Heat GTWR team's season so far. They probably will. But again, look at how close Jardier is right now. He wants to get past, but Ewan, we've seen it from any other driver. They would be elbowing out, trying to force their way through. But very respectful driving from Jardier. Tries to look around the outside, but that's not going to work.
Has certainly been applying the pressure here in this race, but not really being able to get anywhere. Here you can see him on the back once again. Whitehead going into the Formula 1 first corner, and there Abbey. But yeah, not muscling his way through, doesn't need to. I feel like at this stage, got nearly 50 minutes and a co-driver as well to try and get his way through. Might be looking to I don't take advantage, but as I mentioned a couple of moments ago, George Boopy just recovered from COVID a couple of days ago, so it may still not be at full fitness again. It really depends on how hard it's hit him in the long term. and over the last few days. But let's see for Eamon Murphy, of course, who's a long-time teammate of Jaroslav Honzik. Let's see how he can apply pressure to that Yas Heat car, if at all. It's weird seeing Honzik and Eamon Murphy drive against Yas Heat, but here we are.
I'm sorry, Ewan, I got completely distracted. I was on another Twitch channel there. I was actually watching the Twitch stream of Luke Whitehead and George Boothby, actually. The banter that they've got going on right now. They're watching the tail end of Jaroslav Honzig's car right now and trying to see how much pressure he's put on that car in front. It is thoroughly amusing.
I know that Boothby streams, doesn't he, these races? Well, a lot of races actually, and he does strike me as that kind of character. To seem like a fairly easygoing kind of, make a joke about anything kind of person, which is all good fun, and yeah, seem to be having a bit of fun with it, even though things not going their way at the moment. Having a nice fight with Honzik, and I'm sure Honzik is enjoying this one as well. Outside line once again into the chicane, but can't quite make his way through again.
It's thoroughly distracted actually watching two streams at the same time, but genuinely entertaining. Huge thank you to Joffrey for giving us the heads up on that one. I'm gonna say that Luke Whitehead is having to drive that car like he's never had to drive it before. He is on the absolute edge, and all I heard from Luke Whitehead is him going into stow and shouting turn at the car. As we've got a replay then. This is from earlier on. This is a Porsche and the Aston Martin. That is the number 5 and 72. That's last minute competition.
Wow.
And whoa, that's a bit nice. Just take the position. Yep, job done. That's nice. Thank you very much for treating us to that one, production team. That was a beautiful move there. And, well, okay, things are starting to get a little bit handbags now. And there he goes, Yardie into the pits.
Yeah, looking to try and do something here. I was expecting him to put on at least a different lap, Luke Whitehead there, just to try and maybe get the undercut. He's going to be handing that over to Eamon Murphy and trying or seeing if Murphy can get his way through. Maybe he knew this traffic was coming, because in amongst it right now is Whitehead. Thankfully for him, I think it's Dvorak in that car there. It's just got out of the way. So Whitehead is going to have a clear run at things, but it could have very easily gone very different indeed. Not entirely sure if that's a battle maybe going on a little bit further down. If it's the 116 Porsche, then it could well be. Voigtner, of course, has had to serve a penalty. Now handed over to Valentin Barrier, and indeed, it is indeed a fight. That wasn't Dvorak, excuse me. That was Valentin Barrier who's just got into that car, and he's been dropped straight into a fight with McConnell in that 125 McLaren.
Well, I tell you what, if there's anyone you're going to drop into a car, Valentin Barrier knows how to defend himself for sure. So, yeah, he's in a good position. But the Porsches have been found wanting this season, I think, Ewan.
They certainly have. I mean, you could argue that maybe the strongest teams haven't taken them on, but this Jardier community team certainly is a relatively strong team, and you expect them to maybe see them do a little bit better. Only 2 podiums so far this season, and it looks like that is going to be it for them. So, yeah, I agree. The Porsches have indeed maybe underperformed a little bit, but as I say, I think the strongest teams kind of gravitated towards the BMW and McLaren anyway.
Just saying, I think that our second place car is going to be in the pits this lap round. Then Luke Whitehead looks like he's fairly low on the old fuel here, so no, he won't be. Never mind. Of course, that's the wrong pits. No, that is the right pits I'm looking at there. So he decides not to go into the pits this time. Maybe it's next time. Oh, Adam Foster getting a stop-go 30-second penalty there.
To be speeding, I think, that one. It's a very severe penalty. I don't think that would have been handed out by race control unless he's done something really outrageous. But in that case, we would have seen it. So, not entirely sure. I'm going to go with a speeding penalty on that one. And yeah, particularly since we've just seen Big House get into that car now. Just have a driver change, indicating they've just come out of the pit lane. And he might well have sped on the way in or on the way out, but more likely on the way in that car. A very hefty penalty indeed. That's going to drop them down a long way.
Just watching them coming through now. And Ewan, on that note then, I mean, I've got so many things I want to say, and I'm trying to figure out what order to put them in. You know, everyone's looking great for that BS Plus competition machine, but again, I've been burned too many times before about thinking, yeah, it's done, it's dusted, get their name on the trophy, and then something ludicrous happens in the last 20 minutes, and you're left looking like a complete idiot here. So I would imagine for the BS Plus competition guys as well, they'll do the same. They'll just not be caring. They'll just be focusing on the race and wanting to get finished.
I think so. It's just all about getting this to the end now. I think it was a great call from them. It's kind of hard to know who to start in this car today because they haven't got their normal team of Gregor Schill and Angus Fender, who's watching from the sidelines here today. Whether to put Schill in first or second, it's been an inspired decision to put him in first, get that big lead. For Arthur, all Arthur Camera has to do is, I say all he has to do, it is still a big job in his hands, but all he has to do is consolidate that. He can lose a good 10 seconds over this 40-minute stint and still win this championship fairly comfortably for BS competition by even and still win this race quite possibly fairly comfortably. So it's been an inspired decision to put Schill in first, and they're going to be very glad that they did. Not that they don't trust Camera, of course, to do a job, but Schill has made his job very, well, not very easy, but much easier, I should say. And yeah, we'll see how it pans out when they all leave the pit lane, of course. But Ewan Murphy here is going to have a fight in his hands. Is he going to be able to come out ahead of George Boothby or not in that 75 Yas Heat car?
That's exactly what we are here to find out, Ewan, and I've got to be honest, I'm really excited with this. So there is, you can see the McLaren there of Eamon Murphy behind the wheel of the 39 just now. Again, it's all on Gregor Schill right now. I think that it's still going to look very good for them just now. The 89 still out in front by a country mile over Luke Whitehead. The only one that hasn't pitted is Victor Nikolai, with Arthur Kammerer behind the wheel now for the BS Plus competition. That gap, 34 seconds. Is that right? That is correct, actually, because I can see the 75 is away further back there. So yeah, I honestly at this point I don't know what to say. It's looking very good for BS Plus competition. We just have to hope that it stays good and it remains a very solid performance for them.
Well, they certainly will be, but just a couple of moments ago on our cameras we did see Eamon Murphy make that jump on George Boothby for second position. So the Yas Heat community car has indeed got through on the Yas Heat GTWR car. To have swapped, the undercut has worked, even though I believe it was actually only one lap that Honzik came in, one lap earlier that Honzik came into the pit lane compared to Whitehead. And Murphy has done the business on the outlap there to get up in front. We've been now at the wheel of the 75. Can he maybe reel this car back in and retake that second place? Or are we going to see 39 run away with it? Or even going to see them try and chase down Arthur Camera maybe for a race victory? That does seem a little bit far-fetched, but it's still nearly 40 minutes to go. It's not out of the realms of possibility.
Oh my god, I didn't even remember that. I completely forgot it was the 75 that we were supposed to be keeping an eye on there, and that's exactly what has happened. So yeah, look, it's going from bad to worse for the 39 team. The slivers of a chance that they had for the championship pretty much extinguished now. They needed to win, and they needed BS Plus competition to finish a minimum, or sorry, a maximum of 5th place here, and with neither of those things looking like they're going to be happening, and the 75 well out of contention, it doesn't look like they're catching back onto the tail end of Murphy there. If anything, it looks like that gap is opening up a little bit more. We'll give it a couple of laps just to confirm that, but yeah, it's looking like we could be having champagne on ice for Arthur Camera and the BS Plus competition, guys.
I'll tell you, we do need to give it a couple of laps to let Boopy get up to speed at least and see where he can go from here. But it does certainly look, as we say once again, this competition certainly in control at this stage. Wait for us to see really where Nikolai actually gets out. He's just coming out of the pit lane right now. The 116 is coming down the pit straight. Valentine Barrier, that could be a battle for 5th position that rumbles on. Dvorak is in 4th at the minute. I do feel like that's quite a long stop for the US Competition Racing team, but it might not be. I might just be misremembering that one. So I do feel like they were in 4th before at a less distance to Boothby than Dvorak is at the moment. So anyway, but we'll see really how that's panned out and see if Valentine Barrier can maybe get on terms with the 31 because he's not too far away.
Well, that's I don't know. I'm watching this little battle here with Ben McConnell and Till Yorson, the 125 and the 99. The issue with it is that it's one thing catching them, it's another thing to actually get straight past here. So that is the key thing. But 37 minutes left to go, and yeah, what a race we have got. Championship-wise, very shortly we're going to start looking back on what we've had as a championship, but I'm just really delighted and privileged to have been part of this.
It has been a good championship fight. It may be a little bit less dramatic than we would have hoped in this finale, but that just goes down to the sheer pace that Arthur Camera and Gregor Schill in particular have shown here in this one. And so, they're out in the lead at the moment and doing a very good job. 14.7 seconds now is the lead ahead of Eamon Murphy, George Boothby, who are no longer really battling over second place. They're a distance from each other right now. They're trying to get on terms with Apostle in 5th position. The battle for 7th as well between McConnell and Urison. Coast trying to catch the second Volante car. And in 11th, there's still a few battles to be resolved. And of course, the championship calculations to go on. West Competition Racing trying to take that 3rd place. Yas Heat community to it. See if they can do it. Eamon Murphy's going to pick up 135 points at the moment by the looks of things. Apostle only 111. 24-point margin, but that would still be enough for West Competition Racing to be victorious in that fight. Even losing another place for Apostle to Barrier, who's applying a lot of pressure to him at the moment, would be good enough for him. If he comes 7th, it gets really complicated, so I hope that doesn't happen. Goes back to count back and all sorts. Let's hope, as I say, that doesn't happen. I believe the tiebreaker would be the amount of race wins, probably. Usually is. Well, I can't see it coming down to that unless Apostle really does have big falling apart in these final 35 minutes. Would be a big surprise to see something like that. He's driven well so far, so be a surprise, as I say. There's McConnell. Looked like he was returning from off the circuit there. Not entirely sure the miles are deceiving me, but Harrison certainly applying the pressure, having taken over from Felix Deepers. McLaren is coming under fire now on the 99. It looks like Urison is going to have a go into Brooklands, though shown the outside line by the McLaren.
I never understand that because it's such a difficult move, Ewan, to try and pull the car round the outside. I mean, fair play for trying. He's definitely wanting to give it a go here, but yeah, it wasn't going to work. I would have, if anything, if I was going to make a dive, I'd move down to the outside, but it's always very, very risky trying to do that. 35 minutes left to go here in the race, though. Arthur Camera for BS Plus Competition, and this is what it was all about tonight, was that car out in front, and this is exactly where they needed to be to secure the championship. We're enjoying some of the battles further down, though. Ben McConnell here trying to hold off on Till Urison in that BMW. So, where do we go from here? That is the big question, because George Boothby is still 1.6 seconds behind Damon Murphy, and if anything, that's exactly the sort of stability that the gap had last time round with when Jardier was behind the car there, Ewan.
It was very stable, the margin, but yeah, they do seem very well matched. But only this time they started a second and a half apart, which is not particularly ideal in terms of fighting. Luckily for us, of course, we have this battle for 7th and for 10th, excuse me, still going on this race. So that does that will keep us entertained still. But yeah, Murphy and Boofy very well matched, and Murphy is starting to make a few inroads, 10th by 10th, ever so slightly to camera at the moment, but it still won't matter really.
But the great thing is now for George Boothby and for Eamon Murphy, now this is just a straight up scrap and dogfight. You know, the championship as it stands, again, it's not over just yet, but as it stands now means that they can just settle down, and in fact a little bit of time coming down between Boothby and Murphy there. So you know, maybe we're going to get a little scrap between these two towards the end of the race. We're certainly going to get a scrap here with Valentin Barrier and Ben McConnell right now. But in the grand scheme of things, it's yeah, it's half an hour to go. I wonder if Arthur Kammerer and Gregor Schill have decided to open a beer already.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't blame them for it. That gap staying very stable at the moment, and it will continue that way. We've talked about it many times. Still just over half an hour to go, of course, into Brooklands and Luffield. The final couple of corners come Volante right now leading the 28 car of Beak House for FDSR. Taken over from Adam Foster, who started the yellow BMW. Now applying the pressure. Really kind of surprised to see Volante this far down. I know this is not their number one car, that is third in the championship, and looks like it, or looked at the start of the day at least, like it was going to stay there. It isn't going to do that anymore, I don't think. But yeah, surprised to see this second car quite so far down.
Having a look here, back at Eamon Murphy then, in a little bit of trouble now because George Boothby right behind him, 1.2 seconds now. So here's the question for you, Ewan. If George Boothby does get up to the back of Eamon Murphy, do you think we'll see the refrained affair that we saw from Jardier, or do we think that George Boothby is going to actually go for it?
I do think the gloves are going to come off if and when these two come together. Only 1.2 seconds at the moment, still over half an hour though for it to actually get together. And you've got to remember that there's only 1/3 of the race to go now. In Honzik's situation, that we were only 1/3 in to the race, so that's the big difference here in this fight. Of course, it will be safe in the knowledge as well that Dvorak is miles behind. He's only just coming into Maggots and Beckett's right now. So there is certainly the freedom for those two to fight, as we see this battle for 11th, how it might have ended. How did it end? The Volante car just going off the road in a big way. Looks like Big House got through without real major problems.
Yeah, the problem with that is that, you know, it looks a lot more dramatic than it actually is. Still, the position is the position. The great thing is, Ewan, as well, and I know obviously I still keep saying we have to get you involved in this level of competition just to experience it. But I mean, even if you're, say, the likes of John Razor down in 9th place and Holtz, you're still absolutely loving these little fights. It doesn't matter if you're fighting for 11th or 12th. You have to keep pushing, you have to keep fighting, and that's exactly what they're doing. And you know, it just drives you on. You don't care about the position, you care about the car in front of you.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely true. You do just try and fight those immediately in front of you and around you, and some of these teams just getting into the top 10 will be almost a victory, and that's the beauty of it, really. Excuse me, everybody's got different targets. Everybody's got different aims for the race, and as I say, it's not all about winning for all of these teams, even though they would all like to, of course. So the next position in front is all you can focus on, and that's what everybody's having to do today because of the performance of BS competition. We've seen some great fights outside of the top 10. We've seen that one for 11th. At those positions will be very pleasing to them. If they can maybe chase down Holtz and get into a top 10, it will feel like a podium does to one of these two. It's just all about the different aims and targets of the day for all the different teams.
Watching Eamon Murphy still coming through the final couple of corners in the lap here. Arthur Kammerer as well, Ewan. I mean, we've talked about what George Boothby had to do and what Yas Heat had to do to get this done. But I mean, is it just the case that BS Plus competition have been way too strong this season and too strong tonight? I mean, any race in which they have a 16-second gap over the rest of the field, and including second place, but 16 seconds over their championship rival, that's a pretty stinging statement as to the performance of them.
It is indeed. I mean, it's too late in the season for statements to be made. Really, the talking is done on the points table, really, rather than anything psychological like that. But it is really a stamp of authority right at the end on this championship, and it's not the first time this season they've done it. I seem to remember Kyle Lamy, they took a really big lead and a really big win. That one, I've done it as well at one of Nürburgring or Bathurst. I can't quite remember which. Another one, of course, in which another couple of races, of course, in which they actually won. But yeah, as I say, too late really for symbolic shows of strength for acts of Camera and Schill. The season's over in 27 minutes' time. But the talking has been done on the points table, and despite a really almost faultless season from Yas Heat GTWR, only finishing off the podium on one occasion, even that level of consistency was still not enough.
I was a little bit distracted there, Ewan, because Angus Fender's just put in our Twitch chat about sim racing's a lot less stressful when you're on holiday. And I want to know where he is. I want to know where he is off to, sunning himself. I wonder if he was maybe over in Germany. I know that a lot of the sim racers were over there, for the Rennsport.gg summit that was over there. 100 sim racers were invited to go over there, and folk from the community. And I'm guessing that our invite and GTA Mega's invite got lost in the post.
Lost in the post. Yeah, I mean, I did hear about that event go. I did see earlier. I'm pretty sure Angus is in Cornwall at the moment, which is an extraordinary distance from you. But yeah, I mean, it's but there we are. I'm not entirely sure, but just putting his feet up. Yeah, just putting his feet up at the moment and enjoying. Hopefully, be enjoying this race a little bit more than if BS competition were not having a good race, as we see side by side between McConnell and Urissen. It did take a bit of a mistake from the R&E car, but out the 99 all over this McLaren.
Yeah, certainly is. And oh man, it's just brilliant to think of all the fantastic racing that we've had this season. And certainly there's a big gaggle of cars just coming through Maggotts and Beckett's, and as if by magic we all cut to that. That is going to be Tim Holtz ahead of Bicus and Noah Sully. Vasquez Rodriguez is the BMW. Going to have a look up the inside Stowe corner. No, but the Porsche getting a little bit unsettled there coming through the corner there, and you can see the McLaren there of Noah Sully, Vasquez Rodriguez just hovering in the background as well. That BMW is going to try and outbrake itself all the way around. Is it going to try and fire up the inside? It thinks about it, but leaves plenty of room for the Porsche here. So, I mean, 25 minutes left to go here. This is going to be up the inside from Bicus. Is the McLaren going to fancy a bit of this as well? That's too much into the corner there. A little bit of contact there on the Porsche and the McLaren. And wow, oh wow, that could have been so much worse than it was.
That was a big save. Excuse me, big save from Tim Holtz there in the Writer Engineering car. Be able to hold on to that through Abbey. But he did so, and he stays in 11th. Does lose out to Bicus, but Rodriguez now all over him, almost as a direct result of that. And some of the leaders coming through as well. That's Ewan Murphy who's down his inside at the moment, and you can see Boothby in the background as well, having a bit of a nicer run through traffic by the looks of things, and so those two are a lot closer than they were. Holt's also going to be under pressure now from the second Volante car, and I can tell you a little bit further up the order, Jurison went for a spin at Brooklands over the last couple of moments. He was in that battle with McConnell we were just watching a few moments ago for 7th position on the road, and he went for a spin at Brooklands, the second last corner of this circuit. Not entirely sure whether there was contact or whether he did it on his own. However, it's dropped him down to over 12 seconds behind.
The thing with that as well is that now that gap's down to 0.6 of a second between Boothby and Murphy. The momentum is all on Boothby right now. That BMW wants no part of this. It just moves out the way. It says, "Yep, you just take that position if you want it." But like say the McLaren of Boothby, that's another little bit of time lost there for Eamon Murphy. Oh, this is going to get spicy. I really want to see these two with their elbows and handbags out for the next 23 minutes, because goodness knows we need it with the fact that Arthur Camara rocketing off into the sunset with the BS Plus competition. This is the fight we deserve.
Yes, it is a good fight, and one we've been waiting for this second half of the race. We're getting down towards the end of it. We are maybe just seeing Boothby have one or two opportunities. Don't think he's going to go for it at the earliest chance. I think he's just going to size up his opponent a little bit and then try and make his way through when he can. No point in rushing into anything here, really. It's not like he needs to get through as quickly as possible so he can go and chase down first. We'll have accepted maybe that Camara is 17 seconds in front and on course to win this race now without major problems. There's no point in rushing a move here. He's got over 20 minutes to size up his opponent and then strike when the time is right. So I don't think there's going to be any rushing at all from Boothby.
We'll certainly see it. Boothby, I think, fancies it a little bit more, and I tell you what, I kind of want to go jump back on the stream and see exactly how hard he's pushing this car and keep you guys updated. It's great to see that they keep themselves in such good spirits through this race as well, and the teammate relationship and chemistry, Ewan, so important with these drivers doing multiple races per week in different championships. It's so important to have a teammate that you know has your back.
Really is. It's good to have a great relationship with your teammate, because after all, these guys will have been practicing together now for 9 weeks over the course of this championship. You do practice together, and if you don't like your teammate, then you're not going to really talk to them in practice. You're not going to be very motivated to practice with them. For example, that always helped me. Even doing championships where you race on your own, in your own car and whatever, it's nice to have a couple of either friends or teammates or whatever to practice with, because it does make you a bit more motivated to actually do it. And ever so more important in shared car formats like this one, see that you have teammates that you enjoy working with, and these guys clearly do. Same can be said of Honzik and Murphy. We see them two a lot together, even in the longer endurance style events on ACC. They clearly have a deep respect for each other and like working with each other as well, and it is all important. Part of the puzzle that goes together in these kind of shared car formats in GT3 racing.
It's one of the formats, I think, Ewan, that works so well in these different championships, and especially when we're right at the bleeding edge of sim racing that we are here with the Assetto Corsa Competizione. All the teams that we've got here, we see in multiple different championships. You and I have both worked on many other championships where we've come across, 90% of these teams here, and they bring this level of performance to the table every single time. And it must be so frustrating to be one of the teams, say, outside the top 5, and they're still lightning quick, still like way above and beyond the majority of people on this sim, and yet they still don't have a candle to these top 5.
I mean, you say that, but I do feel like that because of the stronger teams and whatever, when you do indeed push for that top 5 and you do eventually get it, it does almost feel like a victory for you. So it's not all negative. I mean, I can personally say from sim racing experience that a 5th place I got, ironically it was at Silverstone, in an F1 race. One of my fondest memories from actually racing in sim racing, because I was in such a difficult field all season long, arguably out of my depth, but I managed to get inside the top 5 in a very strong field, and that is one of my fondest races, even though it wasn't even on the podium, wasn't a victory. One of my fondest memories from actually racing is just a 5th position, and the same will be for some of these teams in some fields that they find themselves in amongst some of the biggest teams in sim racing, like BS Competition and Yas Heat and so on and so on and so on. Top 5 or whatever they're aiming for, it will feel like a victory for them, whether they've been striving for it all season. And I can tell you, in the number 70 team at the moment, we just see them a few moments ago briefly popping their head in the chat, and it's good to see them there. This result right here, 4th place for them, will feel absolutely fantastic, because they've not had the best luck all season long. They're not one of the biggest teams, not one of the stronger teams. I know they're 8th in the championship at the moment, but they've not, certainly not been in the top 5 all season long. Their best result so far was an 8th position. They're currently on course to finish in 4th, and that's going to feel absolutely fantastic for them, as we see George Boothby having a huge moment.
Big slide there for George Boothby there. That takes the gap up back to 1.6 seconds as Noah Sully Vasquez Rodriguez gets a drive-through penalty. You can only presume that is for track limits and automatically assigned here. Arthur Kammerer, though, for BS Plus competition, though, along with Gregor Schill. It's been an exemplary season, of course, not forgetting Angus Fender and the impeccable role that he has played in multiple rounds this season, of course. Also part of the British GT Championship this year with Century Motorsports. So, you know, if anybody is going to be used to the BMW M4 GT3, you'd think he's definitely one of the top guys to have on your squad, and what a job he has done, enjoying a very well-deserved break this week. But Eamon Murphy in 2nd place here for Yas Heat Community in the number 39, and ironic, it does make you think here, you know, what could have happened if it's that whole thing, isn't it, of shoulda, woulda, coulda. But, you know, with the fact that Yas Heat Community didn't start the first 2 races, I think they would have won the championship quite comfortably.
Absolutely. In many other championships, a season like they've had here, not finishing outside the top 4, and it looks like that's going to continue on, really does look like a championship winning performance. But unfortunately for them, they've come up against a team that have only finished outside of the top 2 on one occasion. That is an outrageous record over an 8-race season like this one. So it's really impressive to see from BS Competition, and you've got to commiserate with GTWR and Yas Heat from the season they've had, because as you say, any other championship maybe they would have won with a record like they've had, but unfortunately their remarkable consistency has been toppled by someone with even more relentless consistency up front.
Certainly is. Just thinking back from the championship, then we started obviously a couple of months ago back at Monza, and it was actually Yas Heat GTWR who got off to that winning start, and then ever since then it's been BS Plus competition. They took 2 wins at Kyalami and at Donington. It was a really fairly awkward finish for Yas Heat GTWR. They didn't finish on the podium for the only time so far this season. Then at Donington they took silver, and it was BS Plus competition that took the gold on that one. Both of them being beaten out by Yas Heat Community at Spa for round 4. Nürburgring was the case of BS Plus competition, again gold for BS Plus, and then silver for Yas Heat GTWR. Mount Panorama, I think things didn't really go the way of Yas Heat GTWR, because Volante Racing got their only silver of the season, only 2nd place of the season. But then it was Yas Heat GTWR who got win at Misano last time out. It could have been so different. They had the momentum coming into tonight, but they haven't had an answer to the pace of Arthur Kammerer. That is not to take anything away from Yas Heat Community, and we have to see how this is going to work out, because I am wondering, with that West Competition racing machine that's currently in 4th place here, Ewan, what I'm trying to figure out is how many points the 31 needed to have to retain that fourth position. I think, and I stress, I think they've done enough.
Yeah, I think. Well, trying to do the maths on this at the moment, because if you remember, just to give a bit of context to all this, the Volante Racing car, indeed. Well, we haven't really got to the bottom of why, but they went into the pit lane off of the start on the formation lap, and Jonathan Riley never returned, never emerged from the pit lane. That car was out of the race immediately. So West Competition Racing at the moment are indeed picking up enough points to overtake them. However, are Yas Heat community picking up enough points to overhaul that 39-point advantage? With second place at the moment, Murphy is getting 135, only fifth for Apostle. He's still getting 111. That's only 24 points. So at the moment, it does look like West Competition Racing are going to hold on to that third place, or gain that third place, I should say, and hold on to it by 15 points ahead of Yas Heat community. Very, very impressive, though, from the Yas Heat community team, though, I've got to say. I have been, as I said it before, I've been most impressed with them so far this season. They didn't even attend the first two rounds, and they're still going to come fourth in this championship, pushing for third as well.
It's been a very, very impressive run of form. Like I say, I mean, as we rattle down the final couple of laps now, and that's what we're left to do, because the gap has kind of opened out across the entirety of the field. Everyone's just putting their laps in here again. We're just kind of surmising about the season, what could have been, and you know, it's again, the amount of times I get distracted by this blooming Twitch chat. Honey Badger saying that you should be watching this in the car. He's dropping the hammer. I hope not, as Harry would say. No, you're not. And yeah, that was a great film, wasn't it? Yeah. Now we had this conversation just off air. I'm talking about yesterday. I went to see the new Top Gun, and you said you hadn't seen the original. Ewan O'Leary, have you seen Days of Thunder?
No, I haven't. I've got to be honest. I'm not really a film kind of person. Don't watch them.
Fair enough. That is, to be fair, that's a good reason for not watching.
I needed one there, because I feel like if I was a film person, I hadn't seen it, I was going to get put through something there. But yeah, I'm not really.
So much. It's just because obviously you're into motorsport, and people who are into motorsport and tend to who do enjoy movies, that's kind of one of their must-watch ones. There's lots of good movies. There's lots of bad motorsport movies. That's one of the good ones for me. I'm trying to think of that IndyCar one that was absolute garbage. I think it was at Driven, and it was like Sylvester Stallone. That just, if you're going to watch a motorsport movie, please make sure that it is not that, unless you're drinking heavily, in which case we always urge you to drink responsibly. As Wojtek Dvorak here trying to defend from Sebastian Apostle here. This is the last position. It looks like it's up for grabs. This is the fight for fourth position between the number 70 and the number 31, the Riser Porsche, ahead of the 31. And look at the run that Apostle's got round through Cups corners, cool and calm, as clear as you like. Job done, Ewan. That was beautiful.
That was absolutely fantastic from Apostle there, further cementing their third place in the championship for West Competition Racing there. And Dvorak, I think, was very reluctant actually to fight that one too hard. As I mentioned earlier on, Riser Porsche are having their best race of the season so far. A fifth position is still their best performance of the season. They've not finished better than eighth so far. They've been very consistent in that kind of lower part of the top 10 kind of area. So you've got to take your hat off to them for that. But they will be absolutely delighted with the top 5 here, and they did not want to throw it all away there by getting involved in that fight.
No, they absolutely didn't, and it's a difficult one, isn't it? When you see a car going past you, the temptation to just keep the foot in is unbelievable. As we hit 10 minutes left to go in this final race of the championship here for the GTM Mega Challenger Cup. It's David Christie and Ewan O'Leary taking you through all of the action from the final race in this championship. And you know, before we finish this race, we do have to take a couple of minutes out and say a huge thank you to the team behind the scenes at GTM Mega. Not only them, but our commercial partners at SimracingGP and over at Moza Racing for the support of the championship. Some incredible prizes on offer for this championship as well, and yeah, thoroughly jealous of the rig that's going to be going to the winner here. But again, a huge thank you to the production team at GT Omega for not only setting this up, but they've done a brilliant job of hyping this up on social media, getting everyone involved, and really keeping the energy levels high on this one, Ewan.
I have to say, seeing the graphics that have been put out today, on the old Twitter, and indeed we've put them up on stream here at the start here as well. If you've been with us from the start, it's been very nice indeed to kind of strike the balance and build the excitement for the BS competition versus GTWR and Yas Heat, that kind of battle that we were going to see today, and we have seen. But unfortunately for us, I suppose, it has been a almost one-punch knockout blow from BS competition, if you like. They have been outstanding once again, running away with this one. But yeah, as you say, we've seen some fantastic things throughout the week and throughout the season on social media. And yeah, this season certainly has lived up to the billing. It's been very entertaining indeed, but looks like there's only going to be one winner from here.
What a deserved winner that is, in the form of BS+ competition, as they head on to lap number 41. They're coming down into Stowe Corner then, and 7 and a bit minutes left to go. So this is how your top lineup looks so far. Arthur Camera in the lead then in the 89 BMW, with the 39 McLaren of Eamon Murphy just ahead of George Boothby by about 4 seconds. I said just because I thought it was about 2 seconds, but Boothby, I think, has made another mistake there and has fallen even further behind then. 4.1 seconds there in third place. Sebastian Apostle in fourth place, with Wojciech Dvorak in fifth. Valentin Barrier doing a remarkable recovery drive in that 116 Porsche up to sixth position. Ben McConnell down into to seventh place there. Till Jorsen in eighth. John Razor in ninth position, with Bikus in 10th place. Then it's Tim Holtz in 11th. Noah Sully Vasquez Rodriguez in 12th. And then Jimmy Lynn down in 13th place. That's how it's looking so far in the final race of the championship. And as always, what we do have to tell you to do is we've kept on going about the socials. You have to go and check out GT Omega on the Twitters, on the tweets, as the cool kids call it, which is definitely not me, at GT Omega Racing. You can check them out on Instagram as well, which is instagram.com/GT Omega Racing, and then on Facebook as well. Just search for GT Omega and you will find them on there. No TikToks, which is I don't know what to make of that, Ewan. I mean, the guys are obviously old and not down with the kids.
I don't really I don't have it myself. So I don't really know, but anyway, people seem to enjoy it. So maybe that's a thing for the future. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I'm as much in the know as you are, I'd imagine, about that.
Wow, hang on. What's that supposed to mean, Ewan O'Leary?
No, you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we're everywhere basically, apart from there. So yeah, you should have a click around. And there's other stuff, of course, going on other than this on the Twitch channel, as you've already alluded to, with the Mario stuff going on the other day.
Yeah, the Mario Party on the chat, and now that I've mentioned TikTok, I've got all sorts of stupid meme songs in my head now. Give it about 20 minutes and then it'll be "My money don't jiggle jiggle, it folds." And I love the fact that nobody else will actually get that apart from like anybody that uses TikTok. But anyway, 5 minutes left to go. 5 minutes of us left on the comms, Ewan. That is, it's bad enough, isn't it? Relief for viewers, but it's bad enough for them because it's still 5 minutes. We could do a lot in 5 minutes.
we could. But let's try not to. But yeah, no, it has been an enjoyable season to be on. Of course, thanks to Yusuf and Chris Buxton as well for being here. I know that I unfortunately didn't get to commentate with Yusuf, but I think we've all otherwise all commentated with each other pretty much here this season, and it has been enjoyable. The people at home have enjoyed the coverage as well of this season, and maybe something similar or something different indeed will be organised in the future here on GT Omega. It would be good to see if BS Competition can maybe do it all again. I'm sure they'd have the desire to, as they're on the third last lap of their season now. But yeah, it has been a very enjoyable season to cover and commentate on, and I hope people have enjoyed it at home as much as we've enjoyed covering it. This race has been a little bit slow at times. There's been not much going on occasion, and maybe we didn't get the drama on the final day that maybe we were hoping for. But it's all down to these guys. You've got to take your hat off to them for their performance.
Yeah, you absolutely do. You absolutely do. Still on their Twitch stream. It's all a bit quiet now, to be honest with you. Not so much of the banter, which is amusing to see that George Boothby's behind the wheel now. But yeah, there we go. I didn't need to see that. Thanks very much there, Ewan. I'm presuming that is a reference to the other interesting event that is going on tonight.
One of.
Well, you know, yeah, it's. I'm saying nothing. I especially because I've just went and looked. Right, okay. I need cheering up now. 3 minutes left to go in the race. Ewan, amuse me.
Well, I can't cheer you up really. I'm English. I can't console you with anything. I'm afraid.
Yeah, I can hear the tears of the GTA Mega boys in the background crying while producing this and slowly whimpering away at. To be fair, it is football, so yeah, that's what does tend to happen. Ewan, when you're Scottish, you get used to bitterness and defeat very early on in your life. It's a circle of life. You know, you build your hopes up, you get excited about some minor stage of a major competition, you get beaten senselessly, and then you kind of give up. Which is why many of us have turned to sim racing, because you don't get that same roller coaster of emotion here, as we see Arthur Camera onto the back there of I believe that is Ben McConnell, although making very short work of him. So I would think, are on to our penultimate lap here.
Yeah, we are indeed on the penultimate lap right now. You can see in the chat there some more disappointment about that. I'm not sure when the last time Scotland did get to a World Cup, but it's about to get even further a long time ago.
You were even born, son.
I
genuinely think. Well, wait, when were you born?
2002, I was.
No, legit. Yeah. It's.
Is that the last time you were?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't alive for that
96.
World Cup, but I was born that year. So there you are. But yeah, it's been a very long time. I suppose that's why you have to get joy in England losing, I suppose. So there we are.
Wow, this is a bit of a deep conversation to be having with 1 minute 15 left to go in the race. No, it's just because we're incredibly petty and petulant. That's what it is.
24 years ago, apparently. There we are. But yeah, you're right. There is only 1 minute to go, and there is still stuff going on, I should say. Because Dvorak, I didn't think this was going to happen, which is why I didn't really mention it. But Dvorak is coming under fire from Valentin Barrier. They really want to get this top 5. I mean, even a 6th position would be their best of the season. So they're having a great day no matter what. But they'd really rather be 5th rather than 6th at Rise of Porsche, I think.
Oh, hang on. I'm looking at the chat here, and I'm seeing something interesting from George Boothby. I wonder if they are negligible on fuel right now, which is okay. That's going to be awkward, because that'll open up a huge can of worms. But anyway, nonetheless, 15 seconds left to go in our final race of the season here for the GT Challenger Cup. Well done, everyone. You did it. You survived us for an entire season. But it is coming to an end because Arthur Camera and Gregor Schill have been absolutely dominant, and disqualification for Noah Sully Vasquez Rodriguez. I don't even know why. I'm presuming that's because they didn't serve a penalty here, but it is confirmation. The last lap of the race here, Ewan, coming through the next couple of seconds here.
And no idea why that Volante Racing car has been disqualified, I'm afraid, but it really has not been their day at Volante Racing at all, even in the number 1 or the number 2 car. It has just been a bit miserable for them, I'm afraid, but anything but here for Arthur Camera. He's been substituted in here for this race. His fender obviously away, and for the second time this season, Camera has been forced to step in. He's done an immaculate job. Got this car, of course, with a very big lead indeed, extended out by Gregor Schill. He's done absolutely everything he needed to take this car to the title.
He certainly has. Arthur Camera, Gregor Schill can hold their heads up very, very high. Not just taking the season championship, not just taking the win today, but for showing off in absolute style as BS Plus competition comes round the final corner for the final time. And your 2022 GT Omega Challenger Cup champions, Arthur Camera and Gregor Schill, BS Plus competition, taking the win. What an effort that was. Eamon Murphy and Yas Heat Community going to finish in second place here.
Indeed, it's a great performance from them. And George Boothby over the line, not to be for GTWR Yas Heat. They finished third on the day. They do make it to the end at least, but not to be in terms of the championship, unfortunately, on the day for them.
Oh man, that is just wow. Right, there we go then. Confirmation. Arthur Camera taking the race win by 14 seconds off of Eamon Murphy. George Boothby in third. Sebastian Apostle in fourth. Valentin Barry in fifth. Wojciech Dvorak in sixth position. Valentin Barry getting that position right at the end. What a performance that was from the 116. Ben McConnell in seventh. Till Jorsen in eighth. John Racer in ninth. It's then William Beekhouse in 10th. Tim Hulls in 11th. Jimmy Lynn in 12th, and a disqualification for the 199 of Noah Sully Vasquez Rodriguez. Well, we take our breath, and where do we go from here, Ewan? That performance from BS Plus competition, just another level.
Was indeed. We talked about it time and time again, but it was absolutely enough for the championship. They took matters into their own hands. I said it at the start of the day. The way they want this to go is in their own hands. They don't want to be relying on the 75 to not perform to be able to take home the title here today. They want to keep matters in their own hands. That's exactly what they have done here today. They've managed to win by 14 seconds. They took the pole. They've led almost every single lap. West Competition Racing did get to lead one lap, but it didn't end up mattering at all. And in the end, it was enough for the title. So fair play to them for that. Been a great season. Worthy winners, of course, indeed. Their fifth win of the season. That seals the title here today.
Just watching the final couple of cars coming into the pit lane then. Wow, there we go. What a race. What a race that was. A huge thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching with us. But, well, I guess all that's left for us to do is to congratulate our podium, BS Plus competition, taking the championship, Arthur Camera and Gregor Schill. Yas Heat Community in second place with Jaroslav Honzik and Eamon Murphy. And then Yas Heat GTWR, your championship runners-up, third place today. And we've already got drivers in waiting for us just now. We've got Eamon Murphy and Jardier in for us, but you can see they're champions-elect. BS Plus competition taking the crown. Hearty congratulations to them. We'll see that graphic up again when we have our champions in for having a chat with us. But Ewan, I mean, that was mega. And I did say at the beginning, if you're going to win the championship, at least win it in style. And fair play to BS Plus competition. That's exactly what they did.
They certainly did win it in style as far as they're concerned. Anyway, it might not have been the most dramatic championship finale anyone's ever seen, but it was absolutely emphatic from the BS competition team. I said earlier, obviously, taking the pole and leading every lap, absolutely the best way to do that and seal that title. That's exactly what they did. And as I say, very worthy champions indeed.
Certainly is. So join us then. We have our second place finishers. It is Eamon Murphy and Jardier from a wonderful performance from them too. Firstly, Jardier, you were in the car first. Talk us through the craziness of that opening stint.
Boys, thank you so much, guys, for having us. And yeah, it was great. Like I don't know what to say. Basically, like in a quali, I think I lost like a 10th on a good lap. So maybe I could have beaten Luke in a quali. And then in a race, I was like surprised because I knew that the guys in BMW are like really fast and they will probably pull away. But I was surprised that I was able to keep up with Luke, and he was making a bit of mistakes, and then he was basically holding me up for like 20 minutes approximately. So yeah, it was a good fight. I really enjoyed that. He was really smart and covering everything. So yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it.
And then I'll come on to Eamon in just a second, but the one thing I want to ask you both is something that both myself and Ewan have been saying all season long is, where were you guys at rounds 1 and 2? Because we honestly get the feeling that if you guys had been there in the first 2 rounds, this would have been a very different championship.
Like obviously it was very hard for us because during the championship I was driving with Misha, I was driving with Gregor, I was driving with Eamon. So we had like basically like a teammates issues that somebody was ill, somebody had to go somewhere else, and I think that hurt our championship a bit. And obviously we joined the third round of the championship, so we lost quite a lot of points. So I feel like it could have been nice fight. I don't think we would challenge the guys in the BMW because the BS Plus was like just dominating, especially the last races is just beautifully dominated, and well done to them because they well deserve victory, especially today. And it could have been a nice fight for P2, P3. I think, yeah, I think we could have had like a very interesting fight because us and the other Yas Heat team or Yas Heat GTWR were fighting almost the whole championship together. So yeah, I wish we joined earlier, and I hope there's gonna be another competition soon in GT Omega so we can fight properly.
Well, fingers crossed, because it was an amazing, amazing end to the season. So obviously, Jadier, you brought the car into the pits. You were just behind Luke Whitehead, hassling all the time. Eamon, you then jumped into the car, got the undercut done. I'd imagine that was quite a bit of joy when you came out in that second place.
Yeah, because I was pushing like a complete maniac on the outlap. So it was, but we had a really good pit stop. I think Jordy was right on the limit of speed in the pits on the entry.
Nah.
I don't think he could have broke any later, to be honest. But yeah, once we got out, we had to deal with a bit of traffic, and then George closed up. But I'm not really sure what happened to him in the end of the stint. But the car felt really good, and yeah, I was just pushing every lap as far as I could, really.
And obviously, one of the things that we see all the time when you're doing the team events is that you tend to you'll be the wingman for your co-driver, and you'll be watching them as they go through. Is there ever a moment where you have to kind of watch through your fingers with the antics that go on the track?
Yeah, I wouldn't be known as a great passenger. Well, so like any of the times there's someone a wee bit late in the brakes and almost runs into someone, you're kind of just everything's clenched up. You're hitting the brake yourself in the rig, so because you're trying to stop the car. But yeah, there's some bits of it's through the fingers. I had a bit of a moment at the new turn one, the F1 turn one, and I'd say Jordy was a bit clenched for that.
On that note, then, just finally, Jardier, one of the things that you just mentioned there was about finding teammates and your schedule and things like that. And one of the things that we see very much is just how active and how busy you are as a sim racer. And how difficult is that for you personally, trying to juggle everything and try and stay on top of like all your different commitments?
I mean, I have a great team to support me, so it's not that hard. Like obviously, if I go from car to car, it can be a little bit more difficult. But for this competition, we were basically having like 1.5 car on the grid, so we always had a setup and it was always prepared. So it wasn't that hard in the end, and especially as you said, because I'm driving all the time, it's also easier to adapt for certain situations. So it's no big of a problem in the end.
Well, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure seeing you on this season. provisionally, I'm going to say I believe that you guys stay in that fourth place in the championship.
Fifth,
Uh,
I think.
I think it was fourth because I think that you were ahead of Volante. We'll double check. That's what I'm saying provisionally. Unfortunately,
Yeah, they
you're asking.
disconnected. Yeah, what happened to them? Like they
We
disappeared.
we have no idea. That's the problem. They went into pit lane at the start of the race, presumably with some sort of a setup issue, and then just decided to ditch it from there. But listen, we cannot wait to see you back out on track, and we really look forward to having you for an entire season, guys. Congratulations and well done.
All right, thanks for having
Thank you
us.
so much, guys. Thank you so much. Hope to see you next time.
Absolute pleasure. So there we go. That is Jardier in with us and Eamon Murphy. I was waiting to say Eamon McMurphy there, but of course that's not his right name. It's a bit late to be butchering their names after the season is done and dusted. Right, okay, so we have Bants Ahoy because, gents, not a bad outing. Third place for Yas Heat GTWR. Firstly, commiserations on not being able to take the W for the championship. However, my God, tonight was entertaining on your stream.
Yeah, it was a tough one because we were really banking on the rain. So, and then when no rain appeared, we were like, if we can send it into turn one, maybe, or sometime on the first lap, maybe we could get something going. But it just didn't happen. They just drove flawlessly. So we had some battles with our friendly Yas Heat team car, and they managed to beat us. Damn it! But it was a good battle, and we had fun tonight because that's what it's been. It's been a really fun championship, so we've really enjoyed it.
That's really come through, like just how much all of the teams have enjoyed this championship, and obviously we see all of you out and duking it out against each other week in week out. So it's nice to see you kind of letting your hair down a little bit. Now, one of the times I did drop into your stream was just before you were away to get into the car, George, and you were joking about the steering not working, and all I heard was the pained cry of Luke getting PTSD flashbacks, saying, "No, don't say that. It's going to be like Monza all over again." Luke, I mean, how was that race?
Shocking from my side. I was slow.
Who was the one that was screaming turn when
Me.
Kunz?
It was me. It was really frustrating because my tires were way too high in the pressure and they were overheating, which probably was contributing quite a lot to my struggles. But it was just not turning, as you probably heard on the stream. Didn't stop moaning about it for like 15 minutes. I was constantly moaning about it, but yeah, it was a fun battle with Jards. Really respectful. We had a scary moment with that back marker again, that same back marker always. So that was pretty scary. My my instinct was to go for that gap on him, which was sketchy, but it was good fun. This race I think more than the others, if anything, which ironically was the one where I was struggling more than the others as well. So it was good fun. I really enjoyed the series, even when George was ill. Or just wanting to get away from me. I'm not really sure which one it is at this point,
Yeah,
but he
definitely
is.
get away. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's been a really good championship. Obviously, I've enjoyed George's company, which is great. I know it's not mutual, but I've enjoyed it. But as I say, the championship's been run really well. GG to BS Plus, and obviously, I'm not sure who else was on the podium. I think it was who was it? Was it West Competition who got P3 in the end? It was either West Competition or Visceral. I'm not really sure who it was, but P3 GG to them. But yeah, it was a shame we couldn't really fight as closely in some of the races. But in the next one, hopefully we'll be in the car that I don't absolutely despise with every ounce of my being, and then I'll be a bit more competitive, I think.
George, see, for reference, when your teammate goes, he thinks it's not likely. That's when you're supposed to jump in and say, "No, it was an absolute pleasure. I loved every moment of it."
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
No point in lying. No point in lying. Come on.
So, guys, obviously, listen, a really well-deserved second place in the championship. Was there any highlights for you this season?
For me, the highlight is to actually just be back again because I was getting a bit frustrated being stuck in bed and just watching Luke and everyone else have fun. So Although this race obviously didn't go exactly how we planned, I'm just happy to be zooming around again. So, yeah.
And Luke, what about yourself?
I think it's got to be Mazzano, hasn't it? Ironically, the one race where George wasn't here, unfortunately. To qualify
I knew
second.
it.
Yeah, of course, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense. To qualify second, to take the lead every single lap, and just absolutely. I mean, Amir carried me to be honest, but to win by that far, and I think Monza simply for the chaos. I think obviously we won that round somehow. I still really don't understand how it happened. Considering the problems that me and George were both sort of, cursed with during that race, to still come out on top with obviously the really strong battle with both Jonathan Riley in my stint and also I think it was Angus Fender in George's stint. They've got to be the highlights, I think, for sure. But there should have been more, but it is what it is. I think if they hopefully do another series, because again, I can say from my side, I really, really enjoyed it, and I think George did as well. I think everyone really did. I haven't heard any bad things, which is great to hear. There's usually complaints of people saying, "Oh, the driving standards were bad," but to be honest, I don't think there were anything like that in this series, which is really great, really, really good. So, do another one, guys. JT Omega, get on it. Do another one.
Fantastic stuff. Loads of positive feedback there. Thank you very much, Luke and George, from a very well-deserved second-place team, Yas Heat GTWR. Well done, guys, and enjoy
Thank
the
you.
rest of your evening, and we will speak again very, very soon.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Take care.
Well, there you go. Second place
Let's
in the
go.
championship. Not quite enough. But we end up having to bring in the showboats themselves, Ewan. I love, by the way, how you're just O'Leary on the comms there. I just noticed that there. Right. So, finally, some guys called Arthur Camera and Gregor Schill. Ewan, I'm going to let you take the champions interview here.
Thanks very much. Yeah, Gregor and Arthur joining us now. Gregor, I'll start with you. Obviously, starting the car here today and handing the car over with a huge, huge lead. But I want to go back to the very start and what you were feeling going into this race. How confident were you that this was going to be the outcome by the end?
Like if wait, who disconnected there? Am I still there in the channel or?
Yeah, you're still here.
Still here.
Okay, yeah. Basically, I have to admit I was actually a bit nervous before like the quali and the practice before I joined on the server because, of course, on the one hand, that you have the championship in your own hands and you have the pace in the car, but there's always like a question mark. You don't know what the pace of the others are, or is if it will rain or not, because this was actually quite a big point for us, as like in the rain we basically lose all our car advantage, and then it will be definitely much harder to basically win the race. But to be honest, as soon as the quali started, like I went into the focus, into the zone, as some people call it, and I was able to get a pretty nice lap on the leaderboard, I think, which then put me on P1. And from there onwards, I just knew that I have the pace over them. So it's again only in my own hands, and I'm responsible if we get the championship or not. And that actually released the pressure because I knew, from Saturday that I'm really good through the stint because I won, of course, the SRO America race there. So I just, said to myself, hey, just head down and focus on the corners ahead and get into your groove. And then at the end of the stint or so, the gap was like 14, 15 seconds to P2. And from that point, I gave the car over to Arthur and he could just drive it home.
So, I mean, you mentioned there you came in with a really big lead in that opening stint. What would you put that down to? Would you put it down to the guys behind maybe battling a little bit? Would you put it down to your setup? Was the BMW particularly strong? Were you driving particularly well? What do you think really kind of struck well over those first 45 minutes?
I mean, it's always the driver, isn't it? No, but the car was. It's one of the strongest tracks of the car for sure. I was also surprised that they couldn't really, keep up with me because at the end then of the race, Murphy's pace was like incredible and even quicker than us. So it's like a question mark for myself why they dropped so much, in terms of lap time in the first part of the race. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a combination of both, having like the better car on the track, if you want to call it like that, and then of course just extracting the potential because there are also other M4s on the grid which are not where we are, So you also need to bring it on the track, of course, and use this potential to its limit.
Absolutely, and obviously handing the cart over to Arthur, who we'll chat to now. Arthur, how were you? Going into this race? Were you particularly nervous because obviously you're not the regular driver. Angus Fender's normally here driving for you guys in this series. Were you a bit nervous about kind of filling his shoes almost and doing your job in this second half of the race?
First of all, good evening, everyone. Funny enough, I was not nervous at all. Usually I would be, but I don't know. I felt Gregor was, so I just tried to be as calm as possible. Practiced or started my practice tonight, knowing that I would just, I don't know, I felt confident, knowing I would just have to do what I always do and we would win the title, and that worked out. I mean, Gregor pointed out that Murphy was quite quick in the second stint, which was a surprise. I couldn't match my practice pace anymore, which surprised myself. But I mean, overall, it was still plenty enough to win it. So yeah, I guess I didn't worry for nothing.
Absolutely. I mean, you spent a lot of time driving on your own, obviously not too much battling, but what was the BMW like to drive around here at Silverstone? Obviously, well, I say it's a new circuit. It's been around for a long time now in terms of its the new complex. What is it like to drive in a BMW?
Yeah, I would think it's one of the fastest cars in Silverstone, up there with the McLaren for sure. And then I'm not sure what else comes next. But yeah, this setup in particular, Gregor built, I don't know, picked up just a little bit of understeer in the fast corners during the stint. Obviously lost traction out of the slow corners, but the car, I mean, it stayed in balance, so the lap time drop was very gradual, or felt very gradual, as long as you didn't do any major mistakes. So yeah, overall, I don't know, a decent car to drive, and for sure when you have a 15-second lead, it becomes even easier.
Absolutely. You both drove very, very well indeed. So we'll let you go now and enjoy your victory. Congratulations to you both on both the victory here tonight and the title overall. Arthur, Gregor, thanks very much for coming to join us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There we are, David. Champions of this GT Omega Challenger Cup.
Wow, what a season. And I think the real champions out there, Ewan, are our viewers. Do you like that little bit of cheese that I just to throw in there? No, listen, thank you to everyone who has stayed with us through the past 8 weeks. We started off 8 weeks ago at Monza. We had Kyalami, Donington, Spa, Nürburgring, Mount Panorama, Misano, and tonight here at Silverstone. A huge thank you to Ewan O'Leary for joining me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on board, my good buddy. We've also had a couple of other commentators joining us as well. So a huge thank you to the likes of Chris Buxton, who's been on here, and Yusuf bin Sahil, who has also joined us on the commentary as well. But there we go. That is it. Ewan, any final thoughts on the season we've just witnessed?
I mean, yeah, it's been a fantastic season. I don't think there's anything left to say that we haven't already. It's been very entertaining. What I've noticed as well, and we saw it touched on by, I think Luke Whitehead said it. Not many people have anything negative to say about the season and how it's gone. Lots of people pushing and wanting another season. Not many people criticising pretty much anything that I've seen anyway from that we're doing here. So that's absolutely fantastic to see, and a sign that the series has been run really well and driven really well by all the drivers indeed. And hopefully we will be returning for some more races a little bit later on. And yeah, we look forward to that. But yeah, we've had a great season. It sounds like everybody in terms of the drivers has enjoyed it as well, which is important as well.
Certainly is. A huge thank you as well to the production team behind the scenes at GT Omega for setting this all up and making this work, as well as our commercial partners over at Simracing.GP and at Moza Racing. We hope the winners enjoy their. I'm rather jealous about what they're actually getting, but they enjoy their wicked prizes from GT Omega and from Moza Racing as well. But that is it from us tonight. A huge thank you to yourselves out there, ladies and gentlemen, for putting up up with us for the past 8 weeks. We hope we've made it very much worth your time with the incredible racing that you have seen. Huge heartfelt congratulations then to BS+ Competition for taking the 2022 GTA Mega Challenger Cup. On behalf of myself, Dave Christie, Ewan O'Leary, and everyone else here at GTA Mega, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night, and we will see you sooner than you think.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Show me what you got. Oh,
Is that everything you got?
last turn.
Catch me if you can.
That was great.
That was a good game.
Unlock true experience with GTO Mega.
Unleash the racer in you and feel the thrill of racing all out on the open road.